The next video, I've got like a couple of Towers ones lined up. Hopefully not 100 subscribers, because otherwise I'm going to get another backlog.
Several days later.
So, you did it. Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm back with a pretty special video, sort of a channel update in a way, because yeah, you finally got me to 100 subscribers, which was amazing. Yeah, it was after the, literally I said at the end of the Blackpool Pleasure Beach vlog, like, oh, please tell me there's not going to be 100 subscribers, because otherwise it might put me onto a backlog. But yeah, I managed to get it from that video, which is amazing. So first off, got to say thank you everyone for subscribing over the years. It's kind of amazing that I have 100 subscribers at this point. Like, I know it might not seem like a lot to other channels, you know, there's like other channels I know that have like, you know, 1,000 subscribers, 10,000, whatever, like, but yeah, you know, it's pretty big for me. You know, it's been like around 5 years ish. I think it's like this August or something, maybe this August, September, where it's like 5 years since I started. And even then, it depends what you mean by started the channel. Like, yes, I technically started in 2019, but there was only like a couple of videos then. There were only a few videos in 2020. So maybe like 2021 is where I became a little bit more regular with it. But even then, I mean, technically last year was when I was like kind of properly regular, and even then there was like delays and backlogs and stuff like that. But I mean, the good news is, to start off with, there isn't a backlog, because I thought I was gonna basically, I went to Alton Towers on Wednesday and I thought there was gonna be a vlog with that, but there wasn't in the end, just because it was raining for the entire day, and so it just wouldn't have been yeah, wouldn't really been practical to vlog then. I might have one possibly on June 1st, which will be a quick vlog, so that won't be too much of a biggie. But yeah, you know, I got the 100 subscribers now, so thought I might as well do a video kind of celebrating that in a way. So I did ask for some suggestions like a few weeks back about what to do for it, because I had one idea, which was back in 2021, I think it was May 2021, I went to London for, I think, like a weekend or something like that. The videos are on the channel. I went to like all the Merlin attractions, you know, like Sea Life and the Dungeon, and I went to Doctor Who Time Fracture as well, and I think it was the first time I went to Time Fracture actually, and yeah, so I vlogged all them. I think London Eye was part of it as well, but part of that as well was I went to go and see the film Cruella, and I did a review of it where, almost like the It Chapter 2 review I did right at the start of my channel, where I essentially just went through the entire, like, you know, plot points of the film and then just gave my opinions on each of them. But yeah, that never actually got edited, so I was thinking maybe possibly editing that and finishing it, but actually in like the kind of editing style that I do now, in a way where I actually put a bit more effort into it, because back then it would have literally just been, I think I was going to try and use some like film overlay on it, but yeah, it just took way too long, and I think I was at a point at that stage where I just like, yeah, I didn't really have the motivation to keep doing a lot of the videos, and yeah, that's where I got like editing backlogs and stuff like that even back then. So instead of doing that, I mean, look, if you guys want to see the Cruella review, please let me know, but it's literally, as I say, it's just literally me going over the film in a premiering hotel room in London, and yeah, I could try and make it funny with some edits, but yeah, just, I mean, if anyone is up for that, who knows, maybe I could do that for like an anniversary or something like that, I don't know. But instead, I was given one suggestion from NGL, which I'm just going to read out now, which is, should Defo include something Scare or Altonville related, because that's what you're passionate about, and you talk really well about it. Well, thank you for saying that for starters. Yes, I am very passionate about it. I mean, even wearing the Altonville t-shirt today. So I had to think about it, of what to do, because I also saw, like, I watched a video that I think I think like one of YouTube's own channels put out, which essentially said about you know, ideas of what to do when you hit like a milestone or something. And one of the suggestions was kind of like looking back over old videos and stuff, you know, possibly like, you know, roasting your old self, or just kind of like looking back on memories and stuff like that. So I thought, kind of taking this idea in mind with this, you know, this whole like, you know, going into like Altonville stuff, Scare related stuff, is basically going back through the first kind of earlier years of me being a Scare enthusiast, essentially. So I've got like a few things up. So essentially there's some stuff from 2018, the first year that I did Scarefest, where essentially I used to like post to my Snapchat story quite a bit, when I had Snapchat. I don't now at this point, but yeah, I used to just post about random stuff, normally quite depressing stuff, but I also, when I first did Scarefest for that first time, I basically wrote like a bunch of reviews in like a Google Doc, and then just like pasted like screenshots onto my story. Just, I don't know, I assume people weren't interested in it back then, but I think looking back on it now, it'd be really interesting to like look back on those thoughts and see, you know, how things have developed over the years. So that's in 2018, and I've essentially got reviews of each of the mazes, so Altonville, Subspecies, Project 42, and The Welcoming. So I'm going to read through them. I will just say as well, a lot of this stuff is probably a lot more cringy because this was when I was like 18, this was like 6 years ago, and now I'm 24, which is crazy. So yeah, I definitely was a lot different back then. It was especially also like in the earlier years of the Depression. So yeah, I remember I actually did like a podcast like in 2019, which was like 3 episodes long, and I listened back to them, and yeah, just I am a completely different person now. So yeah, there is probably going to be a lot of cringy stuff with that as well. But anyway, then in 2019, there are a few little bits here and there again that I filmed for my stories, which I kept the footage of, and so it shows some like old footage of like some of the mazes and stuff, which I just thought would be cool to go over. And then I thought I'd cover some stuff in 2020, kind of the first stuff that I did on the YouTube channel, because even though I did the channel in 2019, I didn't actually cover any of the Alton Towers stuff there. I believe like the first Alton Towers one was when they reopened back after COVID. It's like in July, August time, I think, was the first time I vlogged. So I covered Scarefest that year in 2020 and did like a lineup announcement video, I think, with it. So I was going to cover that. I also did there was like a video that they did, which I did a reaction to of announcing the lineup, and then the first ever vlog that I did for Scarefest. So it might be a bit of a while, like a bit of a long video, but you know what, it's an 100 subscriber video, I might as well put a good amount into it. So yeah, so here's the reviews. Now they're not exactly in the right order. I think it like starts with Subspecies, then Project 42, then Altonville, so I might have to kind of skip back and forwards with it. But yeah, so these were essentially, I wrote down like entire reviews of each maze, and so yeah, I'm just gonna read through and kind of comment on like my thoughts, and especially with things like Altonville, for example, where like now, for example, I know Chloe, who's one of the actors in there. I've got like more of a idea about how scare mazes work, like considering this was literally like the first ever scare mazes I ever did, like not even knowing anything about the industry or anything like that. Like it'll be really interesting to look back on that in a way. So I thought this would be a first interesting thing to react to. I hope it is, I don't know. But anyway, so starting off with Altonville. So this was the first scare maze I've ever been through, and it didn't disappoint, absolutely, of course it didn't. Especially now I'm a big fan of it, although I believe at this point it wasn't actually my favourite maze. It was between Altonville and Project 42, because I think it was because I did Altonville first, because I was, in a way, I was kind of a bit traumatized by it. Like I got through it and I just about enjoyed it, but I think it was because I picked it as my first one, and I think because I found it so scary at that point, I was kind of like on shaky ground. Then by the time I'd done Project 42 that afternoon, like I'd just fallen in love with them. So I think that's why I like Project 42 a bit more. I think I liked Altonville as well. I think I felt like Altonville was the scariest, but Project 42 I kind of enjoyed the most at that point. Then I think 2019 it was the attic that was my favourite because it was nice and new and fresh. And then after that, since then, like since 2020, it was Altonville every year. So I was literally shitting myself waiting in the queue line. Obviously not literally shitting myself. I think I said that on Scare Seekers once, and like Joe and Aaron thought that I literally meant that I was shitting myself. No, I was very scared to go in. I remember actually, it might actually say on here as well, that I was actually waiting before I think my time slot was like at 2 o'clock for my combi, and I was just waiting outside of like the exit of Subspecies, just like watching people running out and just like feeling really scared and nervous. But yeah, so literally shitting myself in the queue line, not literally, not knowing how scared I would actually be, because yeah, as I said, this was kind of the first big thing that I'd done that was kind of scary. I'm kind of like a wimp with a lot of other stuff, and so with scares, like yeah, I had no idea how I'd cope, but yeah, clearly I coped fine now. Before the maze, we were lined up and given the briefing. So yeah, like, you know, the safety briefing, all that stuff, which they usually play over like a tannoy. They also gave out 3 mining hats. God, I miss them. I wish they could have come back. I mean, I think for Tiny's Revenge, they might not work as well, but I wish for like the original Altonville, they could have come back, because the Haunted Lantern technology was just so cool. Like, I remember when I got that, I think I only ever got the helmet once, and just, I remember, I think it was the bit after showers that I saw a snatcher at the end of the corridor, the light flickered out and then he just ran at me. It's such an effective technology, and yeah, it's just a shame that they couldn't bring it back after COVID. One for the person at the front, one at the back, one in the middle, yep, which, yeah, that's what they did. And it was also a way to kind of separate the group, so you maybe have like 10 to 15 people batched into a group, but then in the elevator section, they could split that like 15 off into maybe like 5 people each, or maybe like 3 to 5 people like in each mini group. And whoever has the miner's light is at the front of that group, kind of guiding. So I remember on the first one, I was literally only with like 2 other people. This designated the person in the front when the group was split. Yeah, so they get split in the elevator section. We then went to the mine entrance, where we were told by an American girl about her family and had been working in the mines for generations, and not to believe the rumours about the skin snatchers. So I say a girl at this point because it was the brother character, but it was Chloe playing brother, because they actually allowed her to do it, because, you know, she's just so great. Yeah, I'm definitely giving Chloe way too much praise, but she's amazing. So yeah, definitely no bias towards Chloe whatsoever. But yeah, so she was technically the first scare actor that I ever met in that pre-show, and of course, because I hadn't done Altonville before, I didn't realise it was meant to be like a brother character. I thought it was just like a random hillbilly character. I think like before, like when I got to that pre-show, I thought she wasn't an actor at that point. I thought she was just like another person giving another briefing. I didn't realise that the maze had kind of started at that point. But yeah, I remember that she creeped me out massively, so she did an amazing job with that. Told not to believe the rumours of the skin snatcher, basically people who take skin and fashion them into clothes and masks. So probably because I was putting this onto my Snapchat story, I was explaining what all this stuff was to people who really didn't care about it. She then takes us inside, where we meet her sister, who gave us more exposition about the story, which I've actually heard apparently like there was meant to be like like with the original script, they actually went more in depth with like the storyline behind some of the characters, like the bride and Jock and stuff like that, which is a shame that they removed that stuff, because it actually added a lot more interest to the story. But because of them having to get groups in a lot quicker, they had to like shorten it down, which is a big shame. We are then shoved again. I kind of keep going like out of past and present tense with this. We are then shoved into a room that's meant to be an elevator, dark, full of smoke, and fencing on the walls. So yeah, meant to be an elevator, obviously not a real one. But you know, I mean, it's always been a really effective bit, like especially when I did it during COVID, and I was like literally the only one in there, being in that elevator bit, like especially when no actors come after you straight away, it's really like creepy and ominous. This is probably the most dimly lit and claustrophobic maze of them all, which, yeah, it is. Even, especially now with Time's Revenge, it's much darker. I think at this point we were separated into small groups without us knowing it. Yeah, so they used to have like a skin snatcher that would enter the elevator and then kind of split you off. Which they still did after the lanterns went, but like they didn't really split you off as much. It was more kind of as one group, but you could technically get split off still in a way. I was with a young couple throughout, keeping my eyes mainly on them so as not to lose them. Yeah, I think one of them literally had like a backpack on that they had, and I know they said you weren't allowed to hold on like the back of shoulders or stuff like you used to do in some of the older mazes. But yeah, I think I was just like hanging on to like a bit of string on the back of a bag or something just so I didn't lose them. Out of all the scare mazes, I wouldn't have wanted to go it alone for this one, which, yeah, I can agree with. I mean, you know, technically I did Tiny's Revenge on my own, and I mean, in COVID I kind of did Altonville on my own, but the problem is with the COVID restrictions was you could still catch up to the group in front or behind like really easily, so like I would do a bit of the maze alone, but then it would be so easy to catch up to another group. We then went through a tight corridor of inflatable dummies on both sides wearing mining gear and gas masks. So yeah, so this is the boiler section where they had like the kind of like the mining suits and stuff like that, which I didn't realise as well was the reason why that section kind of exists, essentially, like with, you know, the reason why those like body bags are filled is, you think about like, you know, their skin snatchers, they take away the skin. From what I understand, it's apparently because the bodies that were left without the skin were meant to be in those boiler suits in a way, which I just think is like a really cool idea, and I never realised that before. So essentially you're kind of going past these kind of like skinless bodies in these bags, which makes me wish that maybe at the end of that corridor they had like one unzipped where you can see the body inside. Like that would have been like really cool, because again, that's a really good storytelling technique in a way. You think that one is going to jump out, but they don't. I had it a couple of times in later years where they sometimes jump out of the side, but in a way I kind of liked it when it didn't, because you expect that it's going to happen and then it doesn't. and yeah, that kind of really adds more to that suspense. The kind of thing I liked about Altonville was it isn't just like throwing scares at you straight away. There's kind of like a slow burn on it, and then the scares come like really intensely throughout the rest of the maze. There are then multiple rooms and corridors that you go through. One's a bunk room, another is filled with jars with human skin in them, so obviously bunks and jar room. As we were going through, we get jump scared by several skin snatchers. The masks are extremely creepy. I know I've made one, especially in the low light. Yeah, because I remember like a lot of the light, it was low lighting, but also kind of very smoky and like a lot of kind of red lighting as well, especially like in some of the jars section as well. They also kept touching us constantly, even somehow going for the legs, which yeah, in bunk room they can do that very easily, like under the beds and stuff. But yeah, I remember like there was a lot more touching back then, like kind of like touching and caressing your face and stuff, which I loved that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, they don't do that as much anymore, but yeah, that was always like a really cool thing about Altonville, that they really went into that, but it wasn't like being really rough with you. I think I said in one of like the previous Minecraft videos where someone asked about advice about going into Scare Maze for the first time, or like about doing Altonville for the first time. He's like, yeah, they never really like go rough with you, but I loved with Altonville it was specifically the thing of like feeling skin and stuff like that. Saying, ooh, like I like the look of your ears and stuff like that. Like that was just like a really cool, again, like storytelling thing, but it also makes you feel really uncomfortable, but also again it makes you feel really immersed, which is really good. But what I loved was the improvisation from the actors. They didn't just scream in our faces, they actually had lines that I could respond to, like. And I think this just shows the thing with Halloween Horror Nights, where it's scaring, not scare acting. Like, I think this is what I expected. I just expected it to be like, just like, you know, like Halloween Horror Nights, where they just jump out, scare you, boo. But no, they actually have character, and that's really what makes these mazes, even though they're way lower budget, it makes them really just so much better, because it gives you a lot more to work with in a way. It makes it a lot more immersive. I think I should mention at this point that through the scare mazes, I realised that I think I have kind of a fear response, that when I get jump scared by a character, I immediately want to interact. Yeah, so I think I've just said this in the past, where it's like, yeah, I normally kind of like to do like a yes and kind of thing, where like if the actors say something, I kind of like to bounce off of that, and I kind of do use it as a bit of like a coping method. It makes the maze a little bit more fun in a way, which yeah, it is always really good. So I just usually say hello and wave at them, make them see, making me seem like I've got balls of steel. Not confirmed. This is the cringy stuff I was talking about, where I thought I was funny, but I'm really not. I think this was the most fun part of the scare mazes overall. The main line I got from them was, "I like your ears," said by a couple of the skin snatchers while being a couple of inches away from my face and caressing my ear. See, I think that was kind of like in jars section and everything. I just responded with, "I know, right? And they're really nice lobes." You can tell that I'm a socially awkward person. I don't think they had the same sentiment behind their compliment. God, I used to like speak so much more upper class as well. Like, it's really weird. Like, I always kind of had to try and have for some reason I felt like I always had to have this like facade of being like really kind of like posh and stuff like that, but it's like, nah, I'm from up north, mate. The final jump scare where we could see the exit was a sheriff that came up from behind us from out of nowhere, telling us to leave, I think, which is interesting. Yeah, because that was in 2018. I believe in 2019 they changed it to the gift shop ending, where you have like the one of the members of the family like behind the counter, who like, you know, shoots the air cannon like a shotgun in a way, which then essentially it's meant to be a shotgun, but it actually shoots out air into like a they got like a big like metal pan or something near the ceiling, which then makes the loud bang noise. And I believe you'd also see a boss in there as well. It was like kind of like the bigger, bulkier skin snatcher who, you know, was in that final room. But yeah, but in this original year in 2018, yeah, it was just the sheriff who kind of runs you out, which is kind of what the Tiny's Revenge ending is. You know, obviously you got the chainsaw ending as well, but now you have it back to where just the sheriff's there at the end and, you know, tells you to run out and stuff. But with this, instead of like being behind the counter, he actually kind of jumps out from the side and actually jump scares you that way, where you don't see it coming, which is really cool. Came out from out of nowhere telling us to leave, I think, so we did. I think this was the scariest scare maze of the day for a few reasons. It was the first, so I didn't know what to expect. Yeah, first ever kind of thing like this in a way. It was the darkest, most claustrophobic, and while in other mazes actors either guide you round or direction is clear, this one was neither. This, which is why I wouldn't have wanted to do it solo. I really shouldn't have started with that one, but it was still brilliant all the same. Yeah, I think the idea of saying about like the direction wasn't really clear, I think because it was a linear maze, but I think it's more the fact that I found it harder to remember the route for Altonville. Like even with Subspecies I could kind of get the route of it, like Project 42 the same thing. You know, with mazes in future years, I kind of remember the route of them a lot better. With Altonville, it took me so long to actually figure out the route of it because it is so claustrophobic, because it like kind of winds round quite a bit, because there are so many rat runs as well. Like it's the maze that's had the most rat runs, I believe, like in the history of all mazes at Towers. Like they managed to get them all around. Like as I think I might have mentioned before, but my favourite one is in the bunk room. There are literally 3 points where the actors can come out, because there's literally a rat run running around that entire room with 3 like little actor points where they can come out. So you could literally have one actor doing 3 jump scares in the room as you go through, which is just brilliant. You know, it's just a really cool concept for the maze. Right, so the next one's Subspecies, which I went to. I think the reason why I did it in this order was because Project 42 was on the other side of the park, so, and you only had a certain amount of time to do the combi, and the combi was Altonville, Subspecies, and Project 42, and then the Welcoming I had as a separate one in the evening. I think you only had like an hour or an hour and a half to do them all, so I wanted to obviously do, you know, Altonville and Subspecies one after the other, and then Project 42 separately. And I think because Project 42 was the new maze, I decided to leave that one till last, and I thought out of the two, I thought Altonville would be the least scary. Turns out it wasn't, but yeah, anyway, so Subspecies was the one which I do next. I believe there is a very cringy part of this, which, yep, I'm going to hate reading, but here we go. So my first impressions of this maze was actually from when I was composing myself before Altonville Mine Tours, which I mentioned earlier. The exit for Subspecies is right next to the public path, so you just have people watching along as victims running for their lives. So yeah, it was almost kind of like an entertainment thing in a way, just kind of like watching people running out. It was so funny. I mean, it was more funny like in later years, like when I mean, the only other year would have been 2019, so yeah, the next year it was just funny just to see people running out. Yeah, you could actually just like have your lunch while, you know, watching people screaming their heads off. This obviously gave me a lot of encouragement when entering this maze. I think that's sarcasm, don't you? If grown men were running screaming, then how was I going to cope? I somehow managed to cope. I don't know, it's just kind of the scary I can deal with. I really don't know why. The events of the maze actually started in the queue line. 2 women were, oh, here we go, is the cringy bit. 2 women were talking to each other in front. Also, I like how I say the events of the maze. Like, this part isn't part of the maze. What am I talking about? Anyway, yeah, I'm probably just avoiding talk about this, but yeah, 2 women were talking to each other in front of me, probably getting worked up, which, yeah, like, that normally happens, to be honest, in scare mazes, like, with anyone, not just women, but, yeah, like, you know, especially when I'm in costume, obviously, already draws a bit of attention in a way. The amount of conversations that I've had with people who are really scared to go in and go, like, you know, oh, have you been through this maze before? And I'm like, yeah, I've been through loads of times, and they're like, right, I'm sticking with you then, and it's like, you know, it's nice to have those conversations and kind of make those connections in a way. And yeah, I feel like I'm normally a little bit better at doing that because, you know, it's kind of a good time of the year for me. I'm doing something that I enjoy, but also kind of being in that costume character in a way, and kind of knowing that I'm not really too scared. Like, I do get scared in mazes, but it's kind of a scary that I can actually enjoy and deal with, while I feel like with a lot of other people it's genuine fear. I remember, I think with Project 42 in 2019, again, there was like, I think it was like a group with like 2 girls and a guy, and I remember they were like, oh my god, are you going through this on your own? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, right, okay, well, we're following you there. It was just so funny just to have them screaming the entire time round. It was great. Anyway, again, I'm trying to avoid this bit, but they then looked at me as I probably had a worried look on my face, probably after Altonville, to be fair, because I was thinking that Subspecies were going to be a lot more, because it's like this extreme maze with, like, you know, chain stores and stuff like that. I thought it was going to be a lot scarier, but it was good. It just, I didn't find it as creepy or ominous as Altonville. Probably had a worried look on my face and said something along the lines of, if he's scared, then how are we going to cope? I then said that I've only just been through my first scare maze, which was Altonville, in my life, so I wouldn't build me up too much. We got chatting, which probably calmed us all down. We then got to the briefing from a big Shouty Man. Hi, I'm a Shouty Man.
Hi, I'm a Shouty Man!
Where he explained a few different things with this maze. Yeah, so it's very similar to kind of with the Phalanx, with not Subspecies, Subterra. Yeah, with the Phalanx, with that, where they used to be quite shouty and stuff like that, which I never really realised, but Subspecies does share kind of a storyline with Nemesis and the Phalanx. There's like characters who mention the Phalanx in there and stuff like that. I think it's meant to be the idea that some of the things with the end games relates to like the virus from Project 42 or something like that. I never really knew exactly how it was meant to link, but it also didn't really make much sense because the maze was literally on the other side of the park from Forbidden Valley, so yeah, I don't really know where they linked it, to be honest. He said that we will definitely get split up and that this is a free roaming scare maze, which it was. Which always my problem with that is it's very hard to control groups. Like, you know, you could be out in, you know, you could be in there for like 10 minutes or you could be in there for 2, and, you know, it's very hard to control that. This means that it literally works like a maze where you have to find your way out yourself, which, again, cool idea. I just wish it could have worked. Oh god, I'm reading ahead. At this point, me and my 2 babes... I am so sorry to all women. This is why I'm single. Or, yeah, at least this is why I was single back then. Like, Jesus Christ, what was I talking about? I mean, me and my 2 babes. I mean, my new friends that decided to stick together. Like, it's me trying to be funny when I'm clearly not. However, they, like, with that podcast I mentioned, there's a lot of stuff like this, which I'm just like, oh, I shouldn't be, no. However, they told me to go in front. Whatever happens to ladies first, say best to last. God damn it. God damn it, past James. Just, this way you had no friends. Anyway, we went down some steps and a corridor. When we reached a door, we were let in and were greeted to multiple screens. Yes, this was in the pre-show where loads of different screens and stuff. Yeah, in quite a small, cramped room, all showing various visuals. I mean, of course, that's what screens do. I think it was like, it was almost kind of like different characters kind of like watching, like the end games, essentially. It's very similar with survival games in a way where they have, like, you know, different viewers watching. The main one being a character explaining what the end games are. He kind of looked like the villain from Mad Max Fury Road, which I only knew because I did a media studies course in high school, and one of our kind of project bits that we had to do was watching trailers, and one of them was Mad Max Fury Road, where I saw the guy in the mask. It was very similar to that, only a lot cheaper and shitter, really. Yeah, the guy with the mask, with the one with teeth on it, they also used a Darth Vader sound effect for his breathing. Yeah, it was very clear that they used that. So we can assume that they just mixed the 2 characters together. He also looked like he had like a bucket on his head. It's kind of like Count Binface in a way, if you know who he is. Yeah, he looked very much like that, only you could actually like see his eyes and stuff. Yeah, he looked crap. I'm sorry, he really did. He explains that we are going to go into an area where there are these creatures that feed on people, and the characters inside the maze are killing us to feed them, right? Yeah, which I completely forgot that was the storyline. Because also, like, with the creatures that were in there, I'd seen pictures of them for the longest time, but I think it was only on the Towers Times, like, my first ever Scare Amazing, that I'd actually finally... I'd actually finally seen one of the creatures in the maze. To be honest, they weren't really that scary. They were cool masks, but yeah, they just weren't that scary of actors. I felt the other ones were much scarier. It's also made into a game, explaining why it's called the End Games. We are then taken into a corridor with multiple numbered doors, and they are moved to... and we are moved to stand outside one. I believe it was Jack as well, who again is the actor I keep saying. He's been in multiple mazes over the years, and he did the behind the scenes of Panic last year at the Scare Amazing event. I believe it was actually Jack who was in there, who actually who, like, you know, basically ran in after the pre-show and then kind of like guided us along to the doors and stuff, but he was literally like running through the corridors and stuff, which was really cool. Yeah, I really can't like remember the exact route of that, but yeah, it was just awesome, that bit after the pre-show. To be honest, the pre-show was probably the best part of, like, the pre-show and the doors was probably the best part of Subspecies for me. The blackout section was cool as well, but they then open and we are in the maze. So essentially you have to stand outside each door. Doors open, and then you either get dragged into the maze or you just go in yourself. It's similar to survival games in a way, except like it's kind of a corridor of doors with, like, you know, I think like 4 doors along one side and then a door at the end. With survival games, it's like essentially like a bunch of cages along each side, and then you get like pulled back in. Then open, and we are in the maze, and I'm alone. Damn, my new bay's got away. God damn it! Stop! Just stop. But the weird thing is that in the whole time that I'm alone, I don't get jump scared. In the route I took, there were no scare actors for some reason. I wasn't complaining though. Yeah, so it was weird. I think I got put in, might have been door number 5, it's like the one right at the end of the corridor. And when I went in, it was the bit, I think you might be able to see it on photos, where there's like a bunch of like animal cages and stuff. And there's like a bunch of vines and things like that. But it was really dark and there were absolutely no actors in that bit whatsoever. And I found that more creepy than anything else. Like, waiting for the jump scare. I think I waited there for like a good minute, not moving, just waiting for an actor to jump at me, and nothing happens. Then I just like, I think I explained here that I just like hear the screams of people off in the distance, just go to them. I then bumped into some familiar faces. I got my bays back. They're not my bays. They're just 2 random women. But yeah, I think I just heard them like screaming from far away, and then yeah, I managed to find them again. I walked up behind them and greeted them. Oh, I sound so weird. By their reaction, they were terrified. Yeah, no wonder. Probably thought I was a scare actor. No, they probably thought you were a creep. Once they realised it was me, they were calmed and soothed by my lovely warmth. Oh my god. Oh, please stop. Please. This calmness was then replaced with traumatic jump scares. We caught up with another group and we all got lost. I was designated leader. I'm pushed to the front of the group. I am the captain now.
I'm the captain now.
I then felt a hand take mine, and it was leading me somewhere, so I followed. Then a flashlight then a light flashed on, and the person who was holding my hand screamed in my face. Yeah, so this was in the blackout section. Yeah, which was really cool. Essentially, you had to follow a rope, and they'd take you to the rope. But then they also had a flashlight where they could like scream in your face, which was a really cool idea of a jump scare. I smiled and said hello. Yep, that's what I do. Also make women feel really uncomfortable apparently at this point. He then turned off the light and guided my hand to a rope. And no, not that kind of rope, you disgusting bit. What am I even talking about? Why am I making these really inappropriate things? Like, my god. So he was helpful after all. With this maze, you did have to find your way out, but the actors touch you to guide you round. So yeah, essentially like very lightly kind of dragging you round, but like, yeah, nothing forceful or anything. I'm alone again at this point. I followed the rope and it led me to a tunnel. Yeah, so I think these was like the crawl tunnels that you had to go through, which is really cool because they actually had then actors in the crawl tunnels that were kind of like that you kind of run into. Yeah, and it was not a big tunnel. I had to crawl on my hands and knees, and of course I was jump scared in there too. Someone crawling around the pipes, jumping in my face and giving me helpful directions. Yeah, which is just again quite a cool part of it. I then entered an empty dark room where I noticed a silhouette in the corner. I said hello, of course, because that's my only response to scare actors. I have no sense of stranger danger. Again, stop trying to be funny. He said that he knew a way to the end, so I enthusiastically followed. On the way, he banged on some metal, which made me jump. Yet the jump scares somehow didn't. Yeah, so I think it was during the maze, like, the actual jump scares of the actors didn't really make me scared. It was more the interaction that was quite cool. But yeah, those bits probably made me jump because it's loud, scary noises. Maybe it's because I can't say hello to metal, for God's sake. He then pointed to a sign and said, "It's a dead end." I probably should have explained that before, but there are 2 ways out. Either to find the right exit or go free. Now, I think that's actually technically wrong at this point, because I think at this point in the maze, I think originally when the maze opened, they had multiple endings that you could go out of. But by the time I went through it, there wasn't. I think it was just that you go to a dead end and then you have the chainsaw ending. But yeah, I think there was originally meant to be multiple endings out of it, from what I've heard, which would have been cool to do, to be honest. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame that they had to stop that. So yeah, either find the right exit and go free, or find the dead end and get chased by a psycho with a chainsaw. Guess which one I got? Yep, the chainsaw, because that was the only ending at that point in time. That's right, the fun one, of course, which was the chainsaw ending. I could see him behind some fencing, powering up the chainsaw. I started talking, but then remembered that he had a chainsaw and was running at me extremely quickly. So I legged it out of the exit with the crowds of people spectating. Again, I think over time, like getting used to chainsaw endings again, it's just, I'm not necessarily scared by them, but it's just like, I'm going to run away from a chainsaw ending anyway. But it's like, you know, you kind of have to know that they're not real because they can't have real chainsaws, so it just takes away a lot of that threat in a way. So I legged it out with the crowds of people spectating. I think I ran out further than other people too. If I remember rightly, the noise that came out of my mouth while I was pelting out of that door was woo. Yeah, I remember that. Like, yeah, it was just like whoa. Like, yeah, that was yeah, I remember that, I think. So I'd say that this wasn't as scary as some of the others. I already had practice with Alton mine tours and expected this to be worse. It was less dark and claustrophobic and had less terrifying looking actors who guided you through. And don't forget, I had my babes. Just shut the fuck up. Yeah, like, God, I hate my past self more than I hate my current self. But yeah, I think it was with the actors at that point. Again, it was the whole thing of, like, not having masks in a way. Like, you know, because they weren't, like, wearing any, like, scary masks like the Skin Snatchers. The more humanoid they looked, the less scary they were. And so, yeah, with Subspecies, it was a little bit less scary with that. One thing to add is that when I googled images of the scare maze before I went in, I found pictures of the creatures that I mentioned. However, I didn't see any in the maze. Like I said before, yeah, I'd seen images of the creatures, but never actually saw them in the maze at all. They kind of look like, if anyone's watched Torchwood, like the Doctor Who kind of spin-off show, they kind of look like the Weevils from that in a way. And yeah, like, you know, kind of like a lot of like sharp pointed teeth and stuff, like very kind of like skinny and skeletal in a way. And yeah, so I saw them once at Scaremazing in 2019, but yeah, they weren't really that scary, to be honest. I guess I was either really lucky or they'd been removed. No, I think I just didn't see them on that day, possibly. It just might have been like a quieter day where they didn't have as many actors. So next on to Project 42. So yeah, this was the one that was my favourite for that year at least. I said it was very close with Project 42 and Altonville, but I think just because I found Project 42 a little bit less scary, I was able to enjoy it a bit more. And also, another thing I should mention as well is I only got one run of each maze, which means, yeah, so whatever that run was, that was the only kind of opinion I could get from it, because yeah, I literally only had that one run through. So this was the maze that I came to Scarefest for to begin with. The teaser image seemed really reminiscent to the Sanctuary, a previous scare maze that I followed, and now wish that I could have had a chance to go through. Yeah, so for the kind of teasers for it, they put up like this this kind of like folder binder thing. I actually forgot that this is the reason why I went, but yeah, they put up like a folder thing which said like Project 42, and I thought, oh, you know, this is going to be kind of Sanctuary based, because that had kind of like clinical like folders and stuff like that. So I thought, oh, you know, could this be like a return of that? But no, it was because it was yeah, it was like a folder for like patients of like the virus and stuff like that. I think it was also just the fact that I was going monthly at that point anyway, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to go in October anyway, might as well try the mazes. So I did. It was a shame as well because I didn't try House of Monsters, and that was the last year that was there, and that would have been really cool to try, but yeah, unfortunately I didn't. I thought it was like too kid friendly, and like, you know, adults couldn't really go through, but yeah, you could, and yeah, that would have been a really cool experience to have done. However, this was a completely different theme. The maze doesn't take place inside and around the towers like Altonville, Mine Tours and Subspecies, but instead is based separately in the old Nemesis Subterra building. Not the old one anymore, because it's now back. Yeah, there was a time when Subterra was closed since, I think it was closed since 2015 at this point, so it was like closed for like a good 3 years at this stage. The queue line is the same that was used for the original ride, but also has some new planks and scaffolding as an extension. In the queue line, I could see tarpaulin in position to represent the corridors that led to the main building, which was also the pre-show as well. The pre-show was like on a TV screen, that bit, which essentially lined up in the tarpaulin like kind of corridors, very similar to Platform 15, the kind of what originally used to be kind of like the finale tunnel, but then actually became the queue line in the end. It's kind of very similar to that. I mean, you would have seen it, like if you went through like the Nemesis queue line, you would have seen like, well, the old Nemesis queue line, you would have seen like the old like, kind of like tarpaulin things still up before they actually started working on Subterra again. So we got a briefing from a phalanx operative, giving all the normal instructions except for one, which was that we had to stay as a group and not as individuals. Very interesting that that was on this one. I think that's maybe because they wanted to make this one kind of the less scary one. So yes, they wanted you to make sure they stayed as a group. Although I think we did actually get split in half in a way, because I think I was originally in the middle of the group, and then the people in front of me kind of split off into their own, and then I was at the front in the end. So this should have been a piece of cake. After the briefing, we went into the tarpaulin corridor where we had to watch a video message briefing us of our mission. Project 42 was an experiment that went wrong. I don't think we found out specific details, but I assume it was something to do with the Nemesis eggs from Subterra. It's all about the eggs. I think it might have been also a thing that the phalanx were testing in a way or something like that, and then it kind of escaped and then became a virus, like a zombie virus thing. The experiment has caused a virus to spread that turns its victims into mindless animals. So basically sort of like zombies. Our mission was to find a person that can cure the virus, and we are helpfully not given a name or a face of the person we're looking for. How quaint. To be fair, I do still say how quaint, don't I? Jesus. God, maybe I'm as bad as my previous self. We then proceed down the corridor, then back to the Subterra queue line outside, where we see someone at the end of the path. It's an infected nurse guiding us into a yellow tent that is filled with smoke. Yeah, so it's kind of cool that essentially we went down the bit that's the main queue line, but then also next to the main queue line there's kind of like a bit of a path bit next to that, I think, for like staff and stuff, and so that's where the actor was, and so as you were walking along that bit, the actor could be like right next to you in that bit of the queue line, which was really cool. We then pushed into the darkness of the scare maze itself. We have infected animalistic people screaming at us as we go by. I respond promptly with hello as usual and wave again, just that kind of very basic yes, and I've got better at it over the years, trying to get a little bit more, you know, improvisey, I guess. Surprised they didn't bite my hand off. About halfway through, we reach a room full of detail, including the Nemesis egg and the elevator from the original ride. Yeah, I've skipped like massive bits of this, yeah, because there was like a bit where I believe it was using like the baggage hold bits, like the shelves for that. They kind of arranged that into like a bit where you have to like zigzag through, and that was really cool because then they could have like actors kind of like reaching through those kind of like baggage hold bits. So yes, that was really cool. But yeah, then you go into like the main kind of Subterra drop tower section where the drop towers themselves are actually hidden by like computer machinery and stuff, as like an overlay. And yeah, you had like the egg in the middle. In 2019 they got rid of the egg which is a shame. It must have been that Jack was actually in Project 42, because I remember seeing him across like in the elevator bit, like as we were walking around the egg, and then he actually jump scared us as we went through the elevator bits. Yeah, it must have been him in that. So yeah, I can't remember. Maybe it was Jack in like 2019 in Subspecies. That would have made sense, because I know we did both. This is followed by a section where you have to crouch down to get through. However, there's a family in front of me, and for some reason the dad decides to stop for a good 30 seconds, which is a lot of time in a scare maze, while everyone in front continues and an infected victim crashes through the elevator and starts going for us. He then decides to move on, but now we have been separated from the other half of the group. I think with the crawl bit, it might have been similar to like Altonville's one, where you don't have to necessarily like crawl on your hands and knees. It's more like you have to kind of duck section, I think. At least we listened to the briefing thoroughly. And then koala emoji. Yeah, I remember for some reason I made a sarcasm emoji as a koala. I don't know why, it's weird. We continue to move on, avoiding the infected. There's a great section where it's a tight corridor that is made up of 2 inflated sheets that you have to squeeze through, and you can feel the actors on the other side pushing and scratching. Yeah, that was a really cool bit. Yeah, so it was essentially like really tight bit, like where it was like these 2 big inflatable walls, and yeah, you had to try and crawl yourself through, but there were actors on the other side kind of like scraping and scratching and stuff, obviously not like causing any pain or harm or anything, but it was just like a really cool bit, which I wish they'd do something like that in a maze again, because it's just such a cool idea and so simple yet so effective. Yeah, so pushing and scratching and compressing at you, but after a while the dad gets lost. I figure out the way, but then that designates me as the leader at the front. Yeah, so I think we kind of like went back on ourselves, but then I figured out the way, and yes, so then I was at the front of the maze, kind of like the final bit. So now I get all the jump scares first, yay. I must admit though, the last section was pretty cool. It's a caged maze with strobe lighting, so when you see one of the infected, they just flash up in front of you, which also adds so much to the fear factor. Yes, it was essentially a bit where it's kind of like outside Project 42, there was a big kind of like, again, like a big tarpaulin construction, and that was the finale bit where essentially you almost have to go like around and back on yourself in a way. And yeah, that was really cool with the strobes. I love with strobes where it makes it look like the actors are kind of like animated in a way, which yeah, looks so cool. Then the maze was finished, and yes, the dad found his family. They didn't abandon him. Yeah, I think his family were like waiting at the exit for him. This was my favourite maze. The sets were great. The infected looked brilliant with a great variety of costumes and makeup. The effects worked really well, and it was nice to see how they managed to incorporate Subterra, which yeah, I think I agree with that at the time. I think now I just kind of think of it as like it was a fun maze. Like it wasn't like anything really high quality. I think normally like with zombies and again kind of like humanoid characters, it makes it a little bit less scary, but it was just always a fun maze to do. I think it was a little bit less good in its second year, just because I think they changed a bit of the route and like removed some bits of theming, like they removed the egg, as I said. But yeah, it was still always a fun maze to do that. And then finally the welcoming, which I did in the evening. Again, I think the problem was, again, I only did it once, and I did it when it wasn't dark enough. I did it like too early on, which meant I wish I kind of got a dark run through of it, because I was literally able to do it, like considering this was my first time doing mazes, I was able to get through it pretty much on my own absolutely fine. So this was the final scare maze of the day, and one that was pretty much a solo run. This maze was only on in the evening, as a lot of it takes place in an outdoor area, so it's better when it's darker. Again, it really felt like a scare zone, to be honest, more than a scare. It's like more of a contained scare zone, not like a kind of, not one like Burial Grounds, which is more kind of like a linear path that goes along, kind of goes back on itself. But yeah, it felt more like a scare zone, which, don't get me wrong, it would have been great if it was just a scare zone, but like, yeah, really good theming and stuff, and it really did make you feel immersed. But yeah, the scares, they weren't that great. I went when it was getting dark, but it was still bright enough to see, which again, I kind of rather went when it was dark. In the queue, I met two more mature women. God damn it, stop talking about women. They weren't my two babes, stop it. They were two old biddies. God, I hate myself. The maze started with the same briefing, and we were then ushered behind a curtain into a dark room with vines and foliage all over the walls. So yeah, so this was kind of like in the in kind of like the archway, where like when Darkest Depths was there, it was the Darkest Depths pre-show room as well. On the Pirate Takeover as well, it's where they have one of like the tasks is in that kind of bit. We have to go into a dark room and stuff. Is in that same area where it was. But yeah, there wasn't really much of a pre-show. It was more kind of like sound effects and stuff in like a really dark room, and then an actor jumps in. Yeah, there wasn't really too much pre-show to it, to be honest. And yeah, as it says, like vines and foliage all over the walls. There was ominous sound effects that slowly grows in volume and severity. Then suddenly a second curtain opens to reveal a villager jumping out at you. Not a villager from Minecraft, by the way, a Bjornen villager. Then inviting you into the Bjornen village. It's quite a vast area to begin with, contains stalls and people. I believe it was also the bit going past like the old like Pirates of Mutiny Bay stage that they used to have set up as well. They guide you in, and yes, it was quite a big kind of vast area, which made it feel very much like a scare zone rather than a scare maze. They guide you into the main maze, which mainly consists of wooden planks that form corridors. Some noteworthy sections are a room with an oversized hog being cooked. Yeah, that's a pretty cool prop, actually. I wish they could have used that for Burial Grounds and they still had it. That would be an amazing prop to use. And an area with a stake, probably ready to burn someone at, and a darker part of the maze with shirtless Bjorn and wearing tribal masks and bounding around in the darkness. Yeah, they're kind of like a kabuki mask section in a way. I think you can see it on like images and stuff. They normally post it for the Scarefest auditions and stuff. They normally post one of those characters. It's a shame as well because Chloe actually sent me a POV that someone did of the Welcoming in 2017 when it opened. This was in 2018, it's last year. And yet the maze, from what I remember when I did it in 2018, the 2017 version looked a lot better, like in regards to its route and stuff. It felt like a lot longer when I watched it. Yeah, a lot more scary sections. Like they used to have like these kind of like molten characters as well, who've been like kind of burnt up, and they all have like loads of boils and blisters on them. I never remember seeing one of those characters when I went through. So yeah, it's a shame they kind of removed that one. Unless they just didn't have the actors on the day, it's very possible. There are also areas where they can go for your legs, and another way to keep the scares refreshing. Apart from those elements though, there wasn't really too much special about this maze. It was pretty standard and didn't really have anything that made it stand out. I think the best thing was that I actually felt like I was walking through a village, even though it's only based in the Mutiny Bay courtyard. So yeah, like as I said, like even though it's kind of in that courtyard, it makes it feel very immersive. Like you're not in that kind of, you're not in Alton Towers anymore. You were in a Bjornen village in a way. It's a shame as well that I didn't like continue talking about this because I didn't talk about like the finale of it as well, where it's kind of like you go through a corridor and there's like pyro effects, and it's quite nice as well that when you get out there's literally Wicker Man right in front of you, and so then yeah, I just went on Wicker Man straight after that. So yeah, so that's all the stuff from 2018. Yeah, just all those kind of reviews. I'm sorry for how cringy I was and how probably offensive I was to a lot of women. I am so sorry. I was a terrible person back then. So now moving on to 2019, where fortunately I don't say anything. That's good. Here's just some bits of footage. I believe this was from my first visit before Scaremazing. I thought as well what I might do is on the Attraction Source website, they've got like images from every event that they've done, so I thought I might just go through some of the images and see where I can find myself on there. So here's just some bits of footage that I took. Unfortunately they're in portrait mode because they were taken on my phone for I think it was for Snapchat at the time. So yes, there's the entrance. It's a shame that they don't put that pumpkin like up on the main entrance anymore. That used to be such a good thing that they had. So yeah, it's just a bit of a zoom in on the pumpkin, the scarecrows as well. Do they still use the scarecrows at this point? I think they might be around the hotels maybe. I can't remember. And then next, yeah, is more of the scarecrows, pumpkins, stuff like that. Gone the hearse as well. The hearse isn't there anymore, is it? Yeah. You can hear my footsteps walking in the background. I think I used to wear boots at this point as well. So yeah. Yeah, it's my long like reference footage. I mean, this is before I started doing vlogs on the YouTube. So yeah, this is basically like the earliest reference footage I have technically. I think there's a few bits before this, but yeah, for the Scarefest stuff, I think this is the earliest stuff. And there's a crow. I love when they have like kind of like crows and like it would be crows, wouldn't it? Like yeah, just like automatically at towers at that time of year. It makes it feel even more like spooky. Really cool. Yep. Oh god, this is when the frogs weren't even dressed. This is even when they weren't spurting like coloured water or anything, was it? Jesus. So a look. Yeah, and then here's the hearse. Which, yep, they don't have at this point anymore. I can't remember what the reason was for why they don't have it. But, yeah, I'm just really... He looks very scarred there, Skelvin. Yep, Scarefest sign. And there's one of the ancestors. There we go. I think this is my first time actually properly seeing the ancestors as well, which is really cool. I think I actually got a selfie with them, I'm not sure. Oh, and this might have been the first year they added in the pumpkins as well, in 2019. So yeah, that was cool. Yeah. I always kept forgetting like which one was which sometimes. I mean, some of them are obvious, but then like one of them's like the Rita one as well, which is a bit hard to remember. And yeah. Oh yeah, and this is the new bunting that they added for the attic as well, which I believe after being used in 2019, they put it into woodcutters and used it as like some theming in there, which was really cool. So yeah, that's just me walking up to the attic, I think. Yep, taking my time. Getting some really nice slow footage there. Yeah, and this is when they used to have like the signs up there for them. So cool. And yeah, subspecies in the attic right next to each other as well. God. I do kind of miss subspecies. I think I would want subspecies to return if they could make it more reliable. So as in, if you can be in there for a good amount of time. That's the good thing with Panic in a way, is the fact that you can be in there for the full 7 minutes. It's just, you then feel like you're kind of roaming around rather than actually feeling really scared and nervous. And also there's not really much theming, and the storyline's kind of basic. But yeah, with subspecies, it's just very hard to control. Like, I remember I had one alright run, which I think was my first one really quick run, which was in 2019, and then one really long run, which was at Scaremazing in 2019, which was after this. So I kind of had a good, a medium, and then a bad as well. But yeah, just shows how much it varied. And then here is Subspecies as the ending of it. So yeah, it's all these storage containers that they used to have. God, I used to love that exit there as well. It was so cool. I'll just go back to this bit as well. And yeah, so this is the bit where you'd like kind of go over. I believe this is where like the tunnels were here in this bit. And yeah, you'd actually go across this like little scaffolding bit, which is just so cool. And then yeah, all like little bits of spray paint and stuff. So yeah, so I believe these are like the tunnel bits you'd go through, and then you'd have the chainsaw bit probably like along here in this section, I think, which is really cool. And yeah, now we're going to see some people running out. And there's a generator as well. Can't not have a generator at towers. And a helicopter going over, it sounds like. Yeah, I'm just waiting for someone to run out. I think I felt very awkward, like, recording, like, this actor working here. Well, not even an actor, like a host, I guess, aren't they? But yeah. I always thought that FB was meant to be, like, for Facebook or something. But yeah. There we go. There we go. You can see some people running out. There we go, and there's the chainsaw. It very much looked like Tiny there as well, with that kind of almost like a gas mask on in a way, with like the Tiny that does the chainsaw at the end of Tiny's Revenge now. And this is in a way like now the Tiny's Revenge chainsaw kind of like comes into this area in a way, so it's kind of, you know, redoing the same thing. God, I filmed a lot of people running out, didn't I? Are they gonna come out? This is actually pretty good theming, to be fair. I like how some walk out and then some run out. Like, yeah, there you go. And then, yeah, these are the people coming out of Altonville as well. because Altonville you literally came out from behind subspecies, which yeah, really cool. Okay, is anyone else going to run out? I don't think so. There you go. There's one more. I think someone proper legs it out as well in one bit. Oh, there we go. His Darkest Depths for its first year. I found it much more scary in the Mutiny Bay Courtyard as well. Like much darker, much scarier. Yeah. But yeah, this is where the pre-show for the Welcoming was, but also the pre-show for Darkest Depths originally. Yeah, it was only there for that 1 year, and then they moved it over to, I don't know whether they moved it over to nearer to Dark Forest because it was also like, because of COVID restrictions, like maybe they needed more space or something. I mean, obviously it made more sense in the Mutiny Bay Courtyard, but I think the route and layout was much better in its current location. And then this is the Alton Towers dungeon. God, I think I have some bits of Plague Street as well. Yeah, so yeah, if you don't know what Plague Street was, essentially it was like a roaming thing that they did for the dungeons, which unfortunately they only did in 2019 because then obviously COVID came in. But yeah, it was actually really cool because they had like new characters like Plague Victims, Plague Doctor, stuff like that. It was really cool. And like more like smoke effects, more like bits of theming, like got like a well there and stuff like that. Body bags. Yeah, I think there's a few bits of interaction here as well. God, I haven't watched these bits in years. I recognise him. He's the mayor of Trick or Treat Town. That's an inside joke between me and Joe. If I haven't explained that, I'll just explain it very quickly. Essentially, when I met Joe for the first time at Scarefest, we went into Trick or Treat Town, and obviously Trick or Treat Town, you see the mayor of Trick or Treat Town on the screens while you're queuing, and then it turns out we actually saw this actor who's on the screens as the mayor of Trick or Treat Town in there, so it was almost like kind of like a Dr. Kelman moment. So yeah, so Joe was just in awe at that, which is great. But yeah, he's great, that actor as well. He does Oktoberfest sometimes. Brilliant. Again, just some of the interaction for some of the actors is amazing. But yeah, he's the like the steward of the towers, isn't he? So he's the one who would normally be at the dungeons, and the rest of these like the plague victims for Plague Street. But yeah, they were brilliant. I wish they'd bring something like this back. Like this would really get people to go into the dungeons more, I feel like, at Scarefest. I mean, obviously now they're going to be doing something new at Scarefest for the dungeons, but yeah. The makeup's pretty good on them as well. And yeah, there's the Plague Doctor in the background as well, who's quite creepy. Oh, we're going to get a bit of interaction? Oh. Oh, look at that Plague Doctor back there. He's genuinely quite creepy with that mask, because it's not like a normal mask, it's like a bandaged up one, but yeah, God. You know, I forgot that Plague Street was a thing. God, it was so good.
Yes, you can speak to someone for a like, what? What do you use this for? Why is he dressed like he's a plague doctor? Get away!
I was dressed in the long black coat, so yeah, they thought I was the Plague Doctor. Yeah, just great. Yeah. Like, yeah, if they had like roaming actors like this around it all year, like it would because they used to have roaming actors sometimes like in the morning before the dungeons open, like they used to have them like near the front of the towers and stuff, but yeah, they kind of stopped that over the years, which is a shame. But yeah, Plague Street was fab. God. I'm hoping to try and do the dungeon just before it closes, possibly trying to get the last slot in July. I'll have to see whether I can or not, but yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I think I got a few more clips of Plagues. Oh no, Project 42, never mind. God, I do miss this maze. It was a fun one. Yeah, so this is kind of the finale bit with the tarpaulin there, where essentially like you kind of go round. Again, I don't really know why I'm pointing at the screen, but you kind of go round and then back out that way. God, and the phalanx tank before it was repainted. God, Jesus. 2019. This was before COVID. I mean, clearly it was before COVID because they bloody allowed a maze about a virus that goes around. But yeah, and then yeah, you run out of this bit here at the end. But like this is now the original, this is like the exit for subspecies, but that not subspecies, Subterra, and then you run there, go through, and then come back round that way. It was a cool maze though. It was fun. It was really fun, really cool to go through. I loved it. had a fondness for it, I guess. Right, next. Yeah, this is the queue line for it. Look, the soundtrack's really good for it as well. Yeah, and you can just see back there, there's kind of like the tarpaulin kind of bits we'd have the pre-show. But yeah, I think this was the time, as I say, when I was with that group where it's like, they were like, oh, if you're going in on your own. Well, they were just screaming the entire time. Yep, and there's subspecies. Wonder how much this queue line I managed to film. Not sure. It was cool with the attic as well, when they have like, you know, kind of the people dressed up in like the proper attic costume. I remember there's like a guy in like a long black coat as well. I was like, love your style. God. And this one they used to have like a baggage hold as well for the scare mazes around the towers. They don't do that anymore. God, that was back in my day when they used to do that. Right. Yeah. And then this is the bit where like, yeah, you kind of like go into like a covered bit. I think it was like a bit of like a storage container in a way, like a marquee or something where you'd queue up before going in. So the old exit. Yeah, it looks like storage container there, I think. Almost like fencing. Yep, and here's Altonville. God. I do miss the original. Tiny's Revenge is good, but the original's just solid. So cool. I don't believe Chloe was in these years as well. I believe she did 2018. Like, I believe she did maybe 2017, 2018. Then she came back in 2022. So yeah, I don't think she would have been in at this point, actually. Or maybe she might have been. I know she didn't do 2020 and 2021 during the pandemic. But yeah. There you go. I love how they have 3D signs now for all the mazes as well, instead of the 2D ones. I would love something like this, though, to be fair, if they ever want to get rid of it. Just anything from Altonville, to be honest. Yeah, walking along. Very shaky cam. Yeah, I've been watching the vlogs from 2020. The first vlog I did from 2020. Yeah, the cam is very shaky on that. Very shaky cam. Yeah. I do like how the queue line here is a little bit more themed now as well, like all the sheriff stuff. But yeah, I just love this bit of queue line as well, that it utilises stuff that was already there to make it like a really cool, like you feel like you're being transported over to the mines in a way. Interesting that they have this like scaffolding here as well. Yeah, and there's my silhouette in my long coat. Alright, let's have a look. Yeah, and then there's for the attic. Yeah, there's the guy in the long black coat. Scanning the tickets. Which is really cool. Yeah, there's the attic queue line. With the bunting. Gotta love some bunting. Yeah. Beautiful queue line at night though. The lighting for the attic at night is just so lovely. Yeah, God, really shaky cam at this point. Jesus. I'm so glad I have my DJI Pocket now, because that's way more stable. Yep. Walking through the queue line. This is when Hex was open. God, I hope Hex reopens at some point soon. Would be nice. Yeah, maybe film the more interesting bit. There we go. Actually film the bit that's interesting. Like the rest of the towers. Ooh, people cutting across. Naughty. God, the atmosphere for the attic as well with the soundtrack. Brilliant. Simon Allen, amazing job on the music. As always. Makes me very excited with what he's going to come up with next for new soundtracks. God, such a shaky cam. Really not busy as well, the queue line, is it, at this point? Because like it's getting to dusk at this stage, and yeah, not very busy. But yeah, I do remember the attic being my favourite this year. I think it was just because it was fresh at that point, but then over time it just became not fresh. After oh god, and they used to have like the lamppost things here. Like they went. Like the only thing they kept was the bloody fountain. Like yeah, I love these bits in the queue line that they used to have. And they got rid of them. How dare they? And then yeah, it's Plague Street at night. Yeah, I think I got a bit more interaction at this point as well, which is good. The fact that I did the dungeon twice as well. Or maybe I went earlier in the day just to get some footage, but I'm pretty sure I did it twice that day. There you go though, it's always, pretty much I've always had a good run through the Alton Towers dungeon. It's just the fact that it's an upcharge when I'm already a Merlin annual pass holder. Like, if you can do the London dungeon and stuff for free, and that's normally about 30-40 quid, and I can do it for free on my pass, I don't really see why I can't do the Alton Towers one for free. Like, you get like a £5, like you get a discount of like £5 on the ticket, but like with the, when I used to have like a Alton Towers Platinum pass, like I used to be able to go to the dungeons on, I think it was one free visit every time I went, and so yeah, I just don't really get why like Merlin Annual Pass can't have that as well. Like that would have been nice. But yeah. Oh, he's changed his role now. It's not the steward of the towers anymore. But yeah, the smoke effects, lighting was lovely.
You got it yet?
No, not yet. No, I've been in this morning as well.
Oh, second time lucky.
Yeah.
You back them out with these.
Yeah, I haven't caught the plague yet because the pandemic's the following year in 2020. Well, technically the end of this year, wasn't it? Because it was the end of 2019 when it started. God. Oh, God, look at it. I think I actually recognise her. I think she has a YouTube channel and she actually spoke about her experiences being a scare actor on Plague Street. That was really cool. Yeah, just getting that kind of like scare actor perspective in a way. It's really awesome. I think that's her, I'm not sure. It's one of them. There's him again. I love how close they got to people in the queue line as well, because, you know, they were kind of allowed to because it was meant to be this more scarier experience. It's the fact, though, that every year it says that the dungeons are going to be, like, less laughing, more screaming, and it never is. It's the exact same experience. Like, I wish they could have done a bit more with that, because I think that's where I was disappointed. Like, I liked the Plague Street, but the fact that it said it was meant to be more scary in the dungeon, and it never was, like, yeah, a bit disappointing. But, you know, I'd say always a good attraction, just don't say it's going to be more scary when it's not going to be more scary, you know. God.
Oh, this is your talkie box.
Yes, it is.
You can tell I was getting a bit more used to like the interacting at this point because I'm actually talking back to them on camera. Because again, this was before I actually started properly vlogging, so I was a lot more self-conscious at this point, just in general.
You look beautiful on it.
Why, thank you.
Yeah.
Never felt better.
Lovely interaction. There we go. Any more? I think there's a few more clips actually. I think there's a jump scare as well at one point that one of the actors does. Oh no, back to the attic, never mind. Yeah, we're going to get to see the beautiful night lighting now as well. Look at that. Lovely. Again, very shaky cam. But again, that's because it was my phone. Again, the problem with my phone is that I can only hold it one hand, and then it kind of like weighs down on one side, so it makes it very shaky. While with the DJI that I have, it's yeah, much more stable. Yeah, beautiful lighting. It's mainly very beautiful in the conservatory, but like all the blue lighting and stuff. Lovely. Really nice. And also just in the maze as well. It's just a beautiful maze. Yeah, it's a shame it's... I don't believe it's coming back this year, but it's a shame if it isn't. But it's like... I think it's just the problem is they just didn't refresh it, you know? It needed what Altonville got in a way. Even at this point, though, it's not that busy. I can't remember when I went now. Probably would have been early in the event because Scare Amazing is usually like halfway through the event. Again, just such a cool soundtrack. Really awesome. I think there's some bits of Altonville that I got at night as well, so that'll be cool to see as well. On a very shaky cam in portrait mode. Oh, big jump there. He's a long jumper. Oh, and they used to have like spotlights, like, because I thought normally that the lights were in the conservatory, but it looks like they got like a big spotlight. Yeah, like above the conservatory there, yeah. Which makes it look even nicer. Oh, someone's excited. Yeah, lovely lighting. It's made like the blue on like the water fountain back there. It just looks so lovely. They sound like a rowdy bunch. And this is at the end of the day. Oh, so did I not get anything of Altonville? Maybe it was at Scare Maze and that I got some of Altonville, possibly. Let's have a look. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. God, this old queue line here. And I believe that's meant to be like a Phalanx logo on there. I'm not sure. I think these were meant to be like Easter eggs and stuff. God, that lovely like orange amber lighting, so good. Right, I think that's the end of those. There might be a couple of pictures. I'm just gonna have a look for a second. Yeah, here we go. So this is one that I got with an Alton ancestor. God, I was so much thinner back then. So much slimmer. And I had blonde hair. Yeah, that was a thing. That was a phase that I went through. Also, for some reason, took a picture of my feet. I believe this is at Altonville. Yeah, and there's the boots that I used to wear. Yeah, Jesus, they look good, but the problem is they got worn out really quickly. And then this is one which I got at Altonville. They got me to like hold one of these sign things. So yeah, I got a picture of it, which is really cool. Yeah, again the blonde hair. And yeah, a lot slimmer. And like actually wear it wasn't really like a full Scarefest costume. I think this was just genuinely my outfit that I used to wear. I used to wear like smart shirts and stuff like that, and like skinny jeans and stuff. And it's really interesting well here that this is, I believe this was like some of the queue line that they had for Altonville in 2016, where instead of having like all that queue line theming like back there, they used to have actually have these bits there for it. But here they're obviously now just using it as, I don't know, background theming maybe on the exit. But yeah, that's what I held there. And then I think there's a few pictures from the dungeon as well. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, screaming my head off. Bit blurry that one. There we go. But yeah, so that's all the stuff from 2019 that I got. So now I'm on the Towers Times website, their Scaremazing website and stuff. So here's a couple of pictures of me that they got. Yeah, trying to look as creepy as possible with my mustache looking way too long. And then here's the group photo that they did. God, I'm looking so serious there, aren't I? Yeah, I think I was trying to like stay in character somehow, but yeah, really failed miserably. And then here's another one where we got where like I'm right in the back there behind someone. And then here's me coming out subspecies, yeah, running out. Yeah, with a very chiseled look on my face, I guess. I think also some of the blonde must have come out at this point, so it's looking like a little bit more gingery or brown or something, a bit of the brown coming through on the roots probably. But yeah, that's a cool photo. God, my ears look so big there as well. Jesus, because this is when I used to have like my hair shaved like short at the sides as well. I think because like I did a Grindelwald costume at one point. You can kind of see me on this one, like in the background outside Project 42. So that was a cool one. Yeah, I mean, I remember all the run-throughs of the mazes as well. Scare Mazing were always really cool. The actors are much more kind of on form and on point. Yeah, and here's me looking very quizzical on camera. I remember actually after this as well, it was I was in the dungeons just before the I think it was before the Q&A talk. I can't remember who it was with now. It might have been with the head of events, who was there, the head of events for Alton Towers. But yeah, the thing was I was in the dungeons before it and they got delayed, and so after the dungeons I literally had to run all the way back to the Towers suite, and yeah, and then I got back to the table and yeah, very worn out, I think. Yeah, I just looked and yeah, it was Kieran, head of events, who was there, who played Hansel at last Oktoberfest as well, which was really cool. But yeah, he's a cool guy. I don't sometimes agree with some of the decisions that he's made on Scarefest, but you know, I think with Altonville as well, he's normally very passionate about that. So yeah, I really appreciate that. And I remember when I did the Altonville behind the scenes for 2022, I think he asked me about like the Skin Snatcher mask and how I made it and stuff, which was really nice. And then here's another one with me again, just like I don't really know what the expressions on my face are meant to be, but yeah, this was waiting for the attic behind the scenes tour. But I remember the thing was originally was you could only choose one at that point, either, you know, Altonville or the attic, and I chose Altonville, but there was a delay on that, and so what happened was is that everyone waited at the attic, and then they said if we had time then we could do both of them, and then I think from then on they just decided that they'd just let you do both regardless, but whichever one you choose decides which group you're going to be in for the ERT, but also like for the maze ERT, but also chooses which behind the scenes you do first, whether it's the first one or the second one or whatever. So that's me at Scare Amazing. I thought I might as well just add that as like a little bit of a documenting of this. So that's all of 2019, and then so now on to 2020, which, I mean, I'm already at like an hour and 21 minutes, so this may be quite a long video. So this is the first kind of video I did covering Scarefest on the channel, which is so Scarefest 2020 is happening. So essentially because we didn't know if it was going to happen because of the pandemic and stuff, yeah, it was quite a bit of a shock that it was. This was, I think, me just covering the lineup in a very low quality video with me in my dressing gown in my old bedroom. On my, literally just like perched up my phone, I think next to my TV or on my laptop or something. So I'll have a look at the description as I always do. So, well, I know I'm really behind on this. No shit, Sherlock.
No shit, Sherlock.
Better late than never, I guess. I think that's just the catchphrase of my channel, isn't it, whenever I get a backlog. Here's all the info that's been released for Alton Towers Scarefest 2020 and my thoughts on it. I've also tried to improve my editing on this, another reason why it's taken longer to complete. So let me know what you think of it. So I guess the editing is going to be a bit better on this. But yeah, let's see what this video is all about. You can see as well here the human experiment jacket as well, so the first costume I did, the kind of straight jacket for it, but before all the blood went onto it and stuff. So yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, let's watch this video with me with my very disheveled looking hair, probably because I had a massive lack of self-care. That rhymed. Let's go. Hey, so I'm back. God, I didn't even do my intro. I didn't do so hello and welcome back to my channel. Sacrilege. But yeah, this is probably because there was a long gap of me not posting anything. So yeah, that's why I'm saying that I'm back. Yeah, I didn't leave you for like months on end for once. So sorry about the lighting in here, by the way. I've had to close the window. Either I keep that blind open and it's extremely bright, or I just have my light on, which only shines at that painting over there. Oh yeah, because I had like a directional light in that room as well, which wasn't very helpful. I remember it reminded me kind of like in Doctor Who they have like some like Dalek like cam things in a way that kind of like eye stalk cams. So yeah, I literally had that just like shining at the painting, which was literally now above my bed there as well in this room. Yeah, so really low quality. But what do you expect from my channel? And it's pretty dark, so this is the better option. Also, sorry if you can hear like a fan in the background, it is boiling, so yeah, that's not good. And sorry that I look like this. This is just what I normally look like, so yeah. Yep, depressed. Dressing gown and all. So yeah, so today what I thought I'd do is after I went to Alton Towers a couple of weeks back now, the last video was uploaded a couple of days ago, but it was a couple of weeks since I've been. So much small talk on this. There I looked at some of the... See, I would have cut a lot more of this out probably. Scarefest stuff. And now Scarefest's been officially announced. Yeah, I mean, because I said that the editing was better on this, but like... Yeah, I would cut out a lot more of these bits. That's kind of funny because I've been rewatching some like old videos recently, and it's like I keep seeing bits where it's like I would cut out so much more of this stuff. Like, it's actually happening, so that's good. And yeah, they've announced all the things that are going to be there. Surprising amount of things that are actually going to be at Scarefest. A couple of them I predicted so high. I actually predicted that some of these things were actually going to be there. Like, don't sound so fucking cocky. Did my look around at the towers and stuff. So, yes, I'm just going to go through everything, give my thoughts. Oh, so I must have already started Scarefest construction updates at this point then. Oh, that's interesting. Opinions on what's going to be there. So, that's good. So, just on the Alton Towers website now,
And so,
God, I didn't even have like OBS or anything either to like show what was on my screen. I think I like put some overlays on, but yeah, I didn't even have that OBS like to show what I was reading or anything.
first, I guess, should we go through the new stuff? I guess. So, a week or so.
I found it interesting as well that in the chapters on this, they've been automatically put in. So yeah, that's interesting. God, this was a Freak Show Toxic Junkyard. God, I remember that. Yeah, because they literally had like actors in these top containers, which is so cool. And yes, I think this was actually the first time I properly like did credits as well for like different images and stuff. Obviously in Montserrat Semi-Bold, the typeface that I always use for everything. And I believe these containers, because you can see little bits there like of grime and stuff. I believe these were actually from Subspecies, the containers that they used for it.
So I think after I went, there was some containers brought into the park. I think it was August 10th, I think, or August 7th.
I like how there's kind of like a door up there, so like if an actor went out, they just go, ah, and then just fall off.
Maybe. It was on like that weekend, and there were some containers brought into the park and put near the Gold Striker.
God, when it was called Goal Striker, again, just rewatching some of these videos when it was like everything was so different, like it's crazy. I mean, it was a pandemic, for God's sake, that was different enough, but yeah, crazy. But yeah, the gold, because now it's the Games Bunker, isn't it? God.
Now the Games Bunker.
Oh, never mind, it was recently changed apparently.
Arcade bit near the golf section, kind of near X Sector, just outside the towers.
Yes, we know where it is.
And they were the containers that were used for Subspecies and for Darkest Depths.
Oh yeah, Darkest Depths as well, yeah, because they must have got some. I think either they used less containers in the new location, or it was they got some new ones for Darkest Depths for the new location. But yeah, that's where they were from. And I think yeah, the reason why they closed Subspecies was just because of the COVID restrictions and stuff, and then yeah, they just never brought it back after that.
And so people were thinking, well, are they going to be moving Subspecies there or doing something like that? But it turns out that's not the case, because Subspecies is gone. It is not going to be there anymore. In fact, let's just talk about the mazes that aren't there anymore. Subspecies and Project 42 are now not going to be at Scarefest. My opinions on that: Subspecies, it's been there for 5 years. This would have been the 6th year.
Oh, this me adding soundtrack in the background. God, I am getting technical now, aren't I?
It was there. Personally, I think it was a very good...
It would help with the audio levels, where like you could have made it a little bit quieter, so I can actually hear myself a bit better. But
it's all this maze. Sometimes the problem is the gimmick of it is that it's a free roam maze.
yeah, I should have really turned the soundtrack down on this.
It's a very extreme maze, but also it's free roam. So normally with the scare maze, you would go like on a linear path. You would go in on one kind of direction, and you'd be kind of guided through that. With Subspecies, it was a free roam maze. You were split up from people. You had to find your way out instead of actually just going along one direction. And so sometimes that would work. There was one instance that I've been in, and it was really good. We were in there for like a good 10 minutes or so.
I believe that one was on Scare Amazing, the really good one.
And they the actors like guided us around really well. Made us go around in circles and stuff. Really kept us in there, which was good. And then there are some instances where I've been out really quickly, and it's not really as fun. Like you can find.
And with survival games, I've been out pretty much quickly all the time. I mean, to be fair, last year there was one where I was in there for like a solid amount, like 5 minutes. Like I would say that's like a solid amount of time for a maze, like a minimum. So I was in there for a bit longer, but even then that's because I got stopped by one of the actors because they thought I was dressed up as a buckwheat, so and they gave me a bit of interaction for that. So. Yeah, although I like with that interaction as well, it was kind of funny that they kind of left me alone at that point. It's like, it kind of almost like they kind of half broke character because they were kind of still in character but also not. But then they said like, go on, off you go, and it's like it was really weird that they kind of almost kind of partially broke character there.
Really easily sometimes. I remember the first time I went in, I was because you start off. Spoiler alert, by the way, for the maze. It's going to be.
Could have used some more images for this, but I think I do. But I think they're just very spaced out.
Spoilers for mazes today, possibly. By the way, when you start off in the maze, you start off in this corridor with a load of doors. Put in front of the door, and then.
God, this is a very pixelated image as well. Jesus Christ. Also nowadays, I wouldn't say like photograph from, or just put like Birmingham Live or whatever, or Towers Times. But yeah, God, it's so pixelated. But yeah, these are the doors. So essentially you'd have like, I think it was 5 doors, 4 doors like along one wall, and then a 5th one along like the end of the corridor. Which yeah, was really cool.
You when the doors open, you go into the maze at different points. And when I went into the maze the first time, I was in a dark room, and
I don't know whether it was this room. It might have been. I'm not sure. It kind of had like vine stuff like this, but I think it had like a more like cages and stuff like that. But again, yeah, really low quality images on this.
I was really freaked out because it was just silent. There was nothing that I could see or hear. There were no members of the public there.
God, they're like the fingerless gloves that I wear as well. Jesus God, they're like my fingerless gloves. I'm a subspecies character.
No actors. And that area was just left completely empty. And so that's the problem. Sometimes the actors will be around and they'll be on there, they'll be on alert and they'll be really good. And
Just noticed as well they've reused some of like the Alton film, little lights, little lanterns there, which is cool.
sometimes they won't in that maze because it's a very hard maze to control how it's going to go. So that's the problem. It's very hit or miss. I've had one really good run through, the other two, they weren't 100%.
I think a lot of this I've explained in other videos in the past as well, so it's just like reiterating it.
I mean, the chainsaw at the end is always good.
Oh, finally a high quality image from Tower's Times. Yeah, normally if I do like crediting, if someone's already put like a watermark on, I just leave the watermark there. If not, I put my own watermark on for them. But yeah, this is kind of like the dead end bits. Yeah, you go around and then you see kind of like the chainsaw guy here, and then he'll kind of run round and chainsaw you to death. Yeah, these are some quite good bits of theming, to be fair, like having like hospital beds and stuff. That's pretty cool.
Obviously this maze would be really difficult for social distancing. I thought if they could do subspecies, they could do any maze. Because
they didn't really do they didn't. Well, yeah, they didn't do subspecies. They didn't really do social distancing in the other mazes, if I'm honest. They didn't touch. They kind of used slightly further away techniques, but they were within 2 meters a lot of the time, which to be honest, I didn't really have a problem with. Like I was wearing a mask, I was fine. Like
they have to
I was just glad that we had Scarefest back.
to actually guide you around the maze. They have to get very close to you, and the problem is as well is if you're going in different directions around the maze, you'll bump into other people. And so they can't really control people's social distancing in there. So that is an issue. So subspecies is gone. They could bring it back at some point.
Spoiler alert, they don't bring it back.
But I think for now, due to social distancing, as I did say on my vlog, very hard to do social distancing, and it's just been there for a few years. And not exactly one of my favourites, to be honest. The other one's Project 42, and that one, it was really...
Yeah, this is the folder that I was talking about, which made me think, ooh, Sanctuary.
I really liked it in its first year, but then last year...
Could have moved this out a little bit, like, you know, could have, like, you know, have it not, like, crop off the end of the screen. I just love how I'm, like, just, like, roasting myself, just, like, being really critical about my old videos.
It wasn't as good, I don't think. It was probably, out of the mazes I did last year, it's probably my least favourite. Unfortunately, that's just what I thought of it, to be honest. Just not as good, to be honest. It's only been there for 2 years, but to be fair, there's been other mazes that have been there for a short amount of time. I mean, the Welcoming was only there for 2 years. So it
Haunting of Molly Crow only there for 1.
makes sense that
This is a cool section as well, yeah, where they kind of like walk past and they'd have an actor in this, but I believe that's Jack back there as well. Yeah, very creepy. It's very creepy as well to have like that there in the background, just like out of focus.
Move on. And plus the fact, considering that is a maze about a virus that breaks out and infects people, probably would rub a few people up the wrong way.
Personally, I would have been fine to keep it. I really wouldn't have cared if it was about a virus that got out. Like, I mean, it wasn't specifically like coronavirus, was it? It was like a virus that was made. Oh, then again, a virus that was made in a lab. I mean, that's a theory that a lot of people have anyway. So never mind. But yeah, it's more like a zombie virus rather than like a respiratory virus in a way. So really, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But I do get why they got rid of it. It would have been nice though, like after things calmed down, if they brought it back. I would have. I don't know. I just found it was a very fun maze. But obviously now, Subterra's back in, so they definitely can't do it in the Subterra building now.
Considering we are in the middle of a pandemic, so. Yeah, probably would have been a bit insensitive.
I just realised as well, this is probably the maze like evac button, I think. Which yeah, they've kind of put that into the theme. Well, yeah, because then normally like around the maze they'd have like a load of like evac buttons where it's like you can, you know, press it, then like all the house lights will come up and you can get everyone out of the maze. So yeah, that's probably the evac button, which really fits in quite well.
I would think, but I mean, I wouldn't have had a personal problem with it, but I can imagine people would have. So it makes sense that that one's not coming back. it's weird because at that site they've actually so most of the stuff's still up for that, so we don't really know what they're going to do with that site. But
it was left up for ages. Like they just never took it down for a while. I think they just left it derelict and abandoned.
Talk about that a bit later with something else that they might be announcing. So yeah, anyway.
Oh god, is this when I thought that they were going to bring back the boiler house? Yeah, because I had a theory that they were going to bring back the boiler house in that area, because it was like, you know, it kind of looks like a kind of industrial area, so they could have brought that back. But yeah, they never did. Damn it.
Wait, so these containers, getting back to the containers, so people were wondering what they're going to be for, and it turns out they're going to be for the new maze. Freak Show, Toxic Junkyard.
I think the reason why I thought like maybe something like the boiler house could come back, or they were going to announce something else, was because they announced Freak Show, Toxic Junkyard later than the rest of the lineup, and so I think we thought like, oh, well, maybe they could add something else on top of that as well, but then yeah, they never did.
So, bit of history on Freak Show. It came in 2016.
I genuinely can't remember. It was, yeah, I think it was 2016 when it came in as the scare zone.
I'm sure, and it was a scare zone which was in the walkway between Spinball Wizard and X Sector. So it's like,
you see, with this, it's kind of like a scare zone where it's in the middle of like, because I always say there's kind of like linear scare zones and area scare zones. So kind of like linear ones are like Burial Grounds, Crows of Morkin Meadow, where it's like you go from one end to the other. There's kind of characters that scare you. It's almost kind of like an open air scare maze in a sense, only a lot kind of wider and a lot more open. But you still go kind of from one end to the other. Meanwhile, with an area one, it's kind of like Creep Freaks Unchained, Swarm Invasion, stuff like that they had at Thorpe, which is more of an area one where it's more like kind of like interaction in a way. And I feel like Freak Show, like the original Freak Show Scare Zone, was kind of in the middle of that, where it's like it is an area one where you go up to characters and like interact with them. You can go either way, but it was kind of like a linear path that you go along from one end to the other. So it was kind of in the middle of that. I don't really know whether I'd enjoyed it, to be honest. I might have. I'm not sure, but I kind of prefer the linear ones in a way. It feels more kind of like you're going on a journey rather than just like, you know, interacting with characters, just more like a meet and greet in a way. So yeah, it was kind of in the middle of that. But I think the characters were cool, like they were interesting.
But it's like there's this green fencing that you walk past, and it was in this kind of little walkway between there where you had just like a load of different kind of pop-up stall things which had an act.
There's Jack. There he is. Yeah, because always known as the knife thrower, I feel like. And I can't remember whether this was specifically made for... I think this was specifically made for Freak Show, but I think these bits here, these kind of signs, some of them were from Carnival of Screams, because you had like Jack Knife, Jack Knife, the knife thrower from Carnival of Screams and stuff. So I think some of these might have actually been from Carnival of Screams, I'm not sure. I mean, because they did reuse a lot of Carnival of Screams props and stuff. But yeah, that's Jack. He's great, really great scare actor, and again, really chill in real life. It's awesome.
Which one? And I never went into it because I didn't go to Scarefest that year when it was on. And but from what I've seen of it, it seemed the things compared to other scare zones like Zombie Scare Zone, for example. That one seemed a little bit more immersive. I feel with this one, it was very much.
I think again because it was more of a linear scare zone in a way. You kind of go like from one end to the other. Same with like Scary Tales as well. It's another good example.
Yeah, it just didn't really seem too scary. It didn't really seem too, too interactive or anything. It was more just like a thing that you walk through. I watched some videos of it though recently, and it was really cool to see some of the props that they've reused. Like they reused the Carnival Screams entrance of like cut it.
Yep, and I had to crop this for some reason. Why did I crop this like in this way? It feels really close up and cropped. I don't know why, but yeah, there's the Carnival Scream thing which they repainted.
Half and repainted a little bit of it. Looks like they used the living dummy.
This would be a prop I'd want, by the way. It looks so. I don't know where I'd put it, but it looks really cool, really detailed. Controversial, but it looks better than the one they got at Thorpe.
There was a box that the living dummy used to be in from Carnival of Screams, which they've repainted again. Looks like there's a few different props from there.
Yeah, the living dummy box, which was there, which they put the flume tap on top of as well to make it like originally in the original Scare Zone, it was kind of like a gunge thing that they put on it, but then in the maze, it was just a background prop that you walk past. Still pretty cool to have, by the way. It's like bit of Scarefest history in a way, because like the living dummy was like the first thing you kind of saw in the maze. It was kind of the pre-show for Carnival of Screams, so yeah, pretty cool.
And it looks like some of them props actually might be coming back for the scare maze, because some people have seen them
I feel very uncomfortable with her just like staring at me this whole time. Like, again, you should have added more images.
Behind the scenes. I think after the Freak Show was a Scare Zone, they had it in 2018 as the car which they have for...
They did, yeah. They had it as like a roaming thing, yeah. And yeah, I believe this car was used for Carnival of Screams as well, where they like had some of the clowns in like the clown breakouts. They had some of them like go around and advertise the maze. So yeah, so they repainted it and used it for Freak Show Toxic Junkyard as well.
Now I think it's being used for the Alton Towers Traffic Patrol.
Yeah, probably Alton Towers Traffic Patrol as well.
Is that it? But they had some of the Freak Show characters on that, and it was kind of like a portable Freak Show thing. Then it wasn't there last year, and then this year it's going to be a scare maze, which I think is a really good idea for it. I think it'll make it a lot scarier. I think it'll work really well. They could kind of do a mix of like Carnival Screams and Freak Show, so like a Carnival Screams style thing with the Freak Show branding, and I think it could really work.
Yeah, I think I was like kind of hoping that it was going to be in like a big top tent, but with Freak Show kind of branding and stuff, with kind of like the more kind of neon colours and stuff. It wasn't really that. It was more like in a junkyard. But yeah, I think it was just a fun maze, to be honest. It was just like a really fun, really cool, nice, funny maze. It was quite spaced out, and sometimes they didn't have a lot of actors, but like there was one time when I went through, I think it was in 2020 actually, and I went through and it was I was the only one in there, like it was a solo run. Oh no, it was in 2021, never mind, yeah, it was in 2021, went on a solo run, and yeah, I had like 3 chainsaws at the end and stuff, and yeah, the actors were really good in there and stuff, so yeah, you know, it could be a really good maze, and I think even the first time I went through, it was like really solid and really cool.
So here's on the website what they're saying about Freak Show. So Freak Show Toxic Junkyard promises to get the pulses racing as it joins the award-winning lineup of live-action mazes.
I really should have like cut off the bit where you have like the voiceover in the background, because it makes it very hard to concentrate on my own voice. Normally that's what I do now. If I have like a soundtrack in the background, I don't use... it's like, for example, with the Walton Vars videos where I use the song Masquerade at the start, I cut out the bits with the lyrics because it makes it a lot more difficult to understand what I'm saying on the screen. So yeah, I would have done that.
Thrill Seekers, an outdoor maze. It will invite the foolhardy to venture into the Freak Show hidden den to discover the secret of the Psycho Clown's next big show.
And yeah, obviously, with it being an outdoor maze because of COVID restrictions, just made it a lot easier for that.
So that's really interesting. It sounds like it is going to be a scarier attraction. It is going to be an outdoor maze, which obviously because of the COVID stuff makes sense. Really good idea.
I like I'm just like nodding, agreeing with myself, like yeah.
And my idea with the storyline for it, so...
Also with the, I just noticed as well with the chapters, really bugs me that some of them are capitalised and some of them aren't. That's kind of like that OCD thing. It's like, oh.
I listened to the soundtrack by Simon Allen. If you haven't seen Simon Allen, he's on...
yeah, plug for Simon Allen there.
He's on YouTube. He's the guy who basically does a lot of the soundtracks for different scare mazes. So he's done Altonville, you should definitely listen to that one, that's a good one. He's done The Attic, useful soundtrack for that as well. He's done a few for the rides as well. He's done Jules' new soundtrack. He did the ones for Project 42, Darkest Depths, House of Monsters, I think he did as well. But he did Freak Show as well. He did the soundtrack for Freak Show. And most of the soundtrack is dialogue that was used when it was a scare zone. And
got some of like the wigs and stuff on this are just way over the top. Yeah, crazy. I think this bit was actually used in the maze as well. Like this bit might have been used near the entrance. I don't know whether the sign was though. It might have been. I can't remember. Because obviously they might have changed it to like Toxic Junkyard as well. I used to love like the big barbed wire sign that they had over top there. That was great.
It's interesting that part of that introductory bit had... it mentions about the reason why these characters are so kind of twisted and demented because they use this kind of toxic goo or something to make them into these weird, freaky characters. And so that's why I think this is going to be... It says
it's very hard to understand what I'm saying in the background.
The Psycho Clown's next big show, it's going to be this kind of toxic ooze stuff that transforms them into these weird things.
To be honest, the whole toxic idea of it doesn't really come up in the maze, does it? Like, they never really mention about the toxic. I think that's the problem. There isn't a pre-show for it, so you kind of just... yeah, there's not really much of a premise. You just have to kind of get what the original Scare Zone was about and then just go in with that.
And it makes sense with the kind
But I think the reason why there wasn't a pre-show was just because, you know, COVID restrictions again. They just didn't want to do that.
of colour scheme of the maze as well. It was a lot of purples and greens, a lot of those kind of toxic colours. So, yeah, so that should work hopefully. And yeah, I think it's going to be a really good maze. Hopefully, I'm really looking forward to it. As I say, I never really got to experience freak shows, so hopefully this will be a good first experience. I hope there will be some references to Carnival of Screams, because that is.
I mean, props. That's about it, really. Which were already in Freak Show anyway. I mean, I think because I remember, I think when I went to one of the Scare Mazings, and they always get asked, like, you know, oh, you know, you're going to bring back the Sanctuary and stuff like that. And I remember one time, I think Kieran, the head of events at Towers, he mentioned that if they were ever to bring a maze like that back, they wouldn't bring it back like as the Sanctuary. They bring back another kind of maze that's kind of in a mental hospital or a mental asylum. Like with Carnival of Screams, instead of bring back Carnival of Screams, they bring something back that is a circus themed thing. And I kind of think that's what Freak Show was. It was a new version of Carnival of Screams, like taking that same kind of circus idea but doing something different. To be honest, I'm just kind of like, just bring back the original maze. Like, this is the thing, like, you know, if they were going to bring back like a mental asylum maze, I think a lot of people would say, why not just make it the Sanctuary again, you know? Like, but yeah, so I think that's a shame, but that's their decisions. I would definitely make different ones if I was in charge. Especially just like I just think for like anniversary, bring a maze back. Like, I'm not saying bring it back every year. I'm not saying like have it be a constant thing. I'm just saying for an anniversary, actually do something to celebrate the anniversary rather than, you know, not.
Another maze which I thought was interesting. Never got to do it, but yeah, I hope it will be a really good maze. The other thing that's going to be new this year, which is just below the Freak Show bio, is in addition, older families, I don't really know whether that makes sense for this, but older families will be able to enjoy the gardens as never before with the brand new free attraction.
Did they think like old age pensioners were just going to enjoy it? Like, yeah, that's weird. Like, because I feel like kids can enjoy like the Garden Light Walk as well.
Garden Lights Walk, Whispering Souls. So yeah, this is a free attraction, not a live scare maze, which I'm glad that they've now clarified that, because that wasn't on their website to begin with.
God, look how pixelated this logo looks as well, Jesus Christ. But yeah, I remember Gardens Light, that was nice. I wish they did a bit more of a thing though, like Topia in a way, where they actually had kind of like more sculptures rather than just lights and stuff. But yeah, I mean, that was a nice addition, to be fair, for COVID.
And so with this, I don't really think it's going to be anything too big, simply because it's a free attraction, so they're not going to spend too much expenses on it. I think it's mainly going to be a light show, so it's going to have different lights, maybe projections, maybe.
I mean, not really a lights show, more of a lights walkthrough in a way.
Some sound effects, some fog effects, maybe.
Hence being a lights walk.
Just to make the gardens look a little bit more Halloweeny, maybe. I don't think they're going to be live actors again, because it's a free attraction.
I wish there were live actors. That would have made it so much better.
They're probably going to want to use the actors in the paid mazes and stuff. And I don't think they're going to build anything, simply because of this whole thing about that they can't build anything in the gardens because it's like a heritage site.
I think it kind of works very similarly to the heritage stuff in the towers, where it's like you can't put anything down permanently. So you can have things in the gardens and stuff, but you can't have permanent things that can't be removed, I think is the case. But I think in the gardens especially, it might be a little bit more strict with that. But yeah, I mean, certainly in the towers, I remember it was that the mazes had to be able to be taken down, and they couldn't be like permanent fixtures, which is why with these new constructions that they seem to be having, essentially like the survival games looking ones, yeah, with those ones they can make those permanent things rather than the towers ones where, yeah, they had to be temporary. And I think it might be part of the reason why the attic had to go, because I think the heritage might be getting a little bit more stricter, I think, with those rules and stuff. So that might be part of the reason. Also possibly because it's unsafe in that part of the tower now, I'm not sure.
What's it called? I can't remember the names, but basically like where it's a protected, preserved site where they can't build or change anything. I think with the towers they get away with it because it's temporary stuff which they can take down if they need to. So I don't think they'll build anything in the gardens though. I think it's just going to be projections, light shows, just something nice. I'll probably go through still. It'll be a nice little thing that's free. Absolutely, I'll go through.
And I got worn out after it every time, because even though it's like only like a 10-minute walk, that's a long steep hill at the end. Yeah, you know, it was nice. It was and I guess I predicted that, but I mean, to be fair, it was easy to predict, wasn't it? You know, Gardens Light Walk, like what else is it going to be?
And yeah, should be a nice little thing that we go add. So that's the new stuff. There is something else, but I'll mention that at the end. But now I'll go through the.
I think it's Boiler House, which it's just my wanting for them just to bring back a maze that I've never done before.
Stuff that is returning. Sorry, I'm doing this on my Xbox at the moment, so I'm doing this. My phone's resting against my TV, and then I've got my Xbox.
Don't spoil the magic.
On the screen, just on the Alton Towers website. So going to the spine-tingling terror section of the website, we can see what mazes are returning, because there are some returning mazes. I would have been happy if they just had one maze. Yeah,
I think I really set my expectations low for 2020 because of the pandemic. Like, yeah, but I was just really shocked that they brought anything back.
Said if they had like the attic and darkest depths coming back, that would have been good enough. But even just like one maze, like just the attic or something, that would have been good. But no, they are bringing back a surprising amount. So yeah, they are bringing back the attic. That is coming back this year.
Oh God, look how pixelated that. Again, the pixelation on these is terrible.
Very excited.
I don't get how it's so pixelated as well, because I swear I've used those as. I mean, unless if it was just that I just got a smaller image for like the thumbnails and stuff. But Jesus,
that is my favourite maze. I love it. I just think it's a beautiful maze. If you go to that maze, I would say a plan of Scarefest would be to, if you're going to do the mazes, do them at day and night, because with the queue lines they look different. Obviously at day and night, and I think it gives you a bit more chance to do the mazes a bit more often. Obviously, if you have the money, of course, you know. I understand that some people won't want to, especially with the attic. Do that one at night, because they have a blackout curtain.
At least like the audio is a little bit quieter on this in the background.
For the indoor bit of the queue line to keep that the same lighting all the time, but outside at night,
yeah, this bit's beautiful.
Beautiful. They have a beautiful blue lighting that really. It's just lovely, honestly.
I didn't realise for so long as well that this isn't actually a real fountain. It's just something that they put in.
And so the maze itself, the set design,
the porcelain doll,
the costume design, the light.
Which I thought they used these same masks for 7 dolls, or well now 8 dolls in trailers, but no, they actually use similar looking ones, but they're kind of like wider ones that they use there. But yeah, I mean similar idea though, isn't it?
The effects. It's just beautiful, I think. It's a really beautiful maze, really good maze. Not the scariest maze, I don't think, but yeah, I just think it's a great maze, really. It's really good, really surprised me, and glad it's coming back for this year. I'd like to see what they change as well, see if they do anything different. The other maze that is coming back, as I did mention, Darkest Depths, that one is also coming back.
Finally, a good quality logo.
I presume if...
God, I remember with this as well, I had to take the background off it, and like trying to get the background off some of these bits, these little flecks of water was so difficult.
If the containers have been used for Freak Show though,
and this is actually very similar to the Dark Shadow typeface that I used for the logo. Very similar. I don't think it's the exact same, but yeah, it's very because I think actually when I was trying to make that logo, I think I tried to use this, but then eventually I just found one off Google and then edited that.
Could just build some new bits. I can imagine they could do that as long as they have the props and stuff. They could rebuild it slightly, maybe even make it a little bit more open.
God, I remember like before Darkest Depths open, I remember like the rumours of like that it was actually going to be in the Sharkbait Reef, which would have been cool. I think the problem is that the sounds and stuff with all like the fish and stuff, you wouldn't have been able to have like really loud sounds and things. But it would have been really cool. Like imagine like going through the scare maze, but then actually seeing some like fish and stuff at the side. Like that would be so cool. Again, make it even more immersive. And I mean, they already had the building there, so it's like that would have been a really cool one to do. I think something at Scarefest actually with some like scarier, like you know, they normally have like the roaming ghost pirates, like put them into the like Sharkbait Reef. That'd be really, because I mean they do it at the pirate event now. Like imagine doing it at Scarefest. That'd be so cool. Like I'm not saying like have like any big like loud sound effects, but like have some roaming actors in there. That'd be really awesome.
To help with social distancing, that'd be good. But yeah, Darkest Depths, a surprisingly scary maze.
God, again, so bloody.
For a kid's maze, I think it's
so pixelated.
10 plus, and then did they have to move it to 12? I can't remember, but yeah, it's a surprisingly scary maze because with House of Monsters
in its original location, I think it kind of toned down a little bit in the new one. But yeah, in the original one, it was. Yeah, more than 10 plus, I would say.
Just for example, from what I saw from that looked really kid friendly. So I thought Darkest Depths was going to be the same, but it is basically like it is like a normal scare maze, but the theming is a little bit more kid.
I kept wondering as well, are these actually like gloves with like just skeleton hands on top, or do they actually have just like skeleton hands on them?
Friendly, but it's still got some good scares in it and stuff. Certainly. The only thing I would say with Darkest Depths was.
Oh yeah, the mermaid as well. So yeah, where the Kraken is now, they used to have like, well, obviously not where it is now, but essentially the finale used to be just a mermaid on a rock that screamed at you. But the cool thing about that was that they actually put like sand on the floor in that bit, which was really cool. So it actually felt like you're on sand again. Immersion.
Ironically, it is a bit dark. It's a bit hard to see with the lighting sometimes, and maybe they could change the lighting a bit. And at some bits near the end of the maze, it was the opposite problem, which was that a little bit of light was coming in from out.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, there was a lot of light bleed near the end of it, and that. I think that's just with it being in the Mutiny Bay courtyard, though.
That side, so I might try that maze at night as well and see how that one works with the maze.
I mean, it would have been nice to get the mermaid in. I think just having the mermaid as a finale just was a bit.
Just to see if not as much light's left.
Or I think it's like a siren, isn't it?
And stuff. But yeah, really excited to see that. They probably will have to change the layout of it a bit. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, going to a new location as well.
I'm happy to see that one again. Now, one that I'm very excited about, because I
Oh, can we guess which one this is?
didn't know whether this was going to be coming back, and I did predict this in my vlog.
Okay, stop getting so bloody cocky.
And even though the vlog came out after this announcement, it was filmed on August 1st, which means it was before the announcement. I predicted this.
Okay, just fucking tell us.
Altonville Mine Tours, yes,
Stop.
is coming back. So yeah, this is the first maze I ever did. Scariest maze, in my opinion, even scarier.
And there's the Skin Snatcher based mine off. So yeah, essentially, I mean, to be fair, the masks, I believe that they were all pretty much the same shape. I think they just had a few different like paint apps, so some looked a bit darker, but yeah, that's the one that I based mine off. With the costume as well, like kind of like the bluer shirt, dungarees, long hair. This is kind of a bugbear of mine. It's less bad with this, but I know at Thorpe Park it's really bad, where they wear gloves and stuff, but they don't like cover up like logos and things. With this, it's not too bad because it's already like a black logo on it, but at Thorpe Park, it's like some of the ones where they have like white logos, like the company they got them from. Like, just get like a Sharpie or something and just go over it, because yeah, it just makes it look really, I mean, in a maze like this it's not too bad because you won't really see the gloves, but like I remember like in Platform 15 you could see them really clearly, like especially on some like walkthroughs and stuff. I could see it really clear. It's like, oh, just cover that up. I like the crows and walking meadow as well.
Subspecies. I find this one terrifying. It's just really claustrophobic. The smoke effects, I mean, that is one of the problems of the maze. It's sometimes very hard to see because of how dark and how smoky it is. I remember one time I went through and it was right at the end. I thought I'd gone down one of the rat runs. Which
yeah, as you can see, it's kind of, again, the very same pattern of like all the cuts and scars on the masks and stuff, so I'm assuming they were bought and then maybe like weathered up differently to make them look a little bit different. You can see, like, I mean, if I go back, there's like the ear there, there's like a big patch there, then you go to this bit, ear there, big patch there. So yeah, it's the same kind of pattern and stuff. They just clearly have like a different paint app and stuff like that on it. But yeah, ScareCon. I'd love to go to ScareCon at some point.
Which is one day. Access ways that scare actors use to get through different parts of the maze, because it was so.
And yeah, I think this is kind of like the boss character as well. Yeah, kind of like the bigger Skin Snatcher.
Kind of bland, and I couldn't see anything, but I think it was just that there was so much smoke effects and so much lighting, I couldn't. It was just like complete blur at the end bit, but then eventually I got out of the maze. So that is one of the problems, but I still love the maze. The atmosphere is creepy.
I love like these pictures as well. Like we could just see the Skin Snatcher like in the jar room in the background. So cool. And these again were the main ones that I kind of based, you know, the main reference images that I used when sculpting the mask and stuff.
Sound effects, the music, and I think the fact that
I love as well how with Tiny's Revenge they've added a few more bits into the jar room. Like I think there's like a head with like a lot of the scalp pulled off and stuff and bits like that, which is really cool. Again, I just wish we could have seen more of the family again. Like I wish like the first half was with Tiny and the victims, and the second half the family kind of like break out and stuff, because I just miss them so much. Or maybe like Tiny slowly as the maze goes on gets out of like the disguise and he becomes more of a Skin Snatcher again. I just think the skin masks just look great, and they're much more creepy and scary, to be honest. And like the gas masks are creepy, but I just don't find them as like scary. You know, they just feel a bit rather than like, oh my god, this is actually really terrifying.
Just wear masks. I weirdly think.
Yeah, and there's one as well. Jesus. Yeah, and again, I think this is a different one because you can see like the patterns of the bits of skin are a bit different on that one. Oh, and then there's another actor I recognise in the background as well. Hello. Yeah, I quite like this one as well, with like kind of like the more open mouth on it as well. During COVID as well, obviously all the actors had to wear face masks, but for Altonville they actually got ones that looked like kind of like wrinkled up skin and stuff, which was really cool. It's a shame they didn't have as many skin masks, because you probably could have worn like a face mask under the skin mask, to be honest. I think it's just mainly because the actors didn't like wearing them, which I can't blame them for, to be fair, but it's like, I don't know, they're cool. Like, they're a cool part of it.
When they're humanoid, it's not as scary. Like subspecies, that's what makes.
Oh god, I remember on the behind the scenes for this as well. I remember because Kieran, the head of, I'll just call him Kieran from now on, head of events at Towers. I remember asking him, oh, so what was the skin made out of in the jars? Was it like latex or something? He was just like, oh, I don't know. And it's like, why did I expect him to know that? Like, he's not the one who made the bloody maze. It's probably just bits that they've just bought, to be honest. I'd imagine. One thing I do know is that in the final like corridor leading up to the gift shop, the bits of like skin that kind of hang down, I believe that's kind of like chamois leather, I believe, because I believe they did this for Creek Freak Massacre as well, where it can kind of hold up a lot of water in a way, so it makes it feel like a little bit more kind of like moist in a way, because it can like hold that water and stuff. So yeah, so I think they did that for Altonville as well.
The attic, same kind of thing. But with Altonville, they wear the skin mask, and it makes them look creepy.
Well, when they wear the skin masks.
So, yeah, I like that.
That is the kind of the nice thing about Tiny's Revenge, the fact that they have to wear the miners' masks now, so at least that's a consistent thing. But I've heard, like, it's very hard to actually scare act in them as well, so I do feel sorry for the tiny actors there.
And the whole thing with the torch, again, spoiler, but the gimmick of this maze is that you wear a headlamp.
Which went in 2020.
Or 3 people from the group are picked to wear a headlamp, and I've worn it and been at the front of the group, and the idea of it is when you go past the sensor in the maze, the lamp will go off at certain points. And an example of this, yeah, I was at the front of the group.
I was just thinking another way that they could have done it without the headlamps is if they had certain lighting in the maze and then you go past a sensor and just the normal lighting turns off. That means you don't have to use the headlamps, and it means that, because I can see, in a way, I can see why they don't want to use the headlamps after COVID as well, just because it makes batching easier, I guess. But yeah, it was a really cool effect. But yeah, this was literally the corridor, and I think it was literally this type of skin snatcher that I saw that just ran at me when the headlamp went off. But again, you can see the same sort of pattern, ear on that side, big chunk up there, the nose on its own. But with this one, again, different paint apps with like more blood on the stitching and stuff. So I don't know whether they either bought them from a company, because I know that the company at Rubber Gorilla, who did the masks for like the Hamble twins from the Boiler House, a lot of ones from Death's Doors as well, a lot of the ones that Thorpe have bought, they make every mask from scratch in a way. So they cast them out from the mold individually, paint them up, hand paint them individually. It's not like a production line thing. They make them by hand each time, so that means the paint apps can be slightly different on each one. So I'm not sure if that's the thing with this or whether it was the thing that Towers decided to paint them up a little bit differently. It's possible either way. But yeah, this bit's always really fun, like going past this. But I remember sometimes there's like a hole in some of like the boarding here, I think, and one of like the statues like come out and like grab the hand out and stuff.
With a headlamp on, and I saw a skin snatcher at the end.
I will admit some of these bits look like a little bit, they don't look like skin, is the thing, they just look like padding and stuff, but you know.
Into the corridor, walked forward, the lamp went off, and he ran at me. And it's really effective. It's really effective, really scary. And I'm very glad that this maze is coming back, because I've done it for 2 years now, and I know it's been going, this will be its 5th year now. And I know it's been going for a while, but I just want one more year with it.
I keep saying that every year. I just want one more year with Altonville. And now we do with Tiny's Revenge, which is great. Again, I just wish the family could have still been in there. I wish the family would come back at some point. Even do it as a roaming, like maybe like an Altonville breakout with like the Skin Snatchers break out of for police custody and roam the park. That'd be cool. And actually still have them in the skin masks. That'd be awesome.
I think next year I'll be happy. I'll probably next year say that I want it back, but
yep.
I think next year I'll be happy to see it go, but I just want one more year, just like some proper goodbyes, and just go through the
Say my proper goodbyes to the Knox family.
maze again.
They weren't even called the Knox family at this point, which is crazy.
The one thing I will say is, I think
And there's Chloe. There she is. I'm sure she didn't mind me shouting her out. But yeah, that's her in the brother role. So that's the role that I would have seen her in that first year. So yeah, she did an amazing job of it. And then yeah, more of the skin snacks. So again, if they sell this sign, I would definitely want that. Yeah, because it's an awesome prop. But unfortunately, they're still using it for Tiny's Revenge outside the police tent. It's also cool as well, they had some like half masks as well for the skin masks, which is cool, but again still looks like a very similar pattern, just like they might have like altered them. But yeah, there's Chloe, which is really cool to have her there.
Change the layout a little bit, even though I can't even remember the layout because that's the thing, it's so disorientating. But I think some people have been saying that they want like a better ending to it, which yeah,
I could agree with that actually. To be fair, the gift shop ending, it was alright. I always wanted to be that it was a bit of a bigger gift shop and like you could go down like different aisles in a way and see like different like bits of merch, but also have it be like skin merch. So like have I don't know, like skin mugs and skin sofas and skin furniture. That would have been cool. Like,
I could agree with, because last year it was the shop, the Altonville gift shop that they had. The year before that, I think it was like a sheriff chases you
I've just got like Chloe like just intensely staring at me. Sorry, Chol, because her name's Chol now clearly. But yeah, please stop staring at me, Chloe.
But yeah, maybe a little bit of a change of the layout. Maybe I think they need to make it a bit less foggy so you can see a few things, just to appreciate the maze a bit more. Because that's the thing about the attic, you can see everything and you can appreciate everything. I can remember the layout of the attic. Altonville, I don't. It's just like a load of.
I remember the layout now just because I've been through it so often. I've seen the plans so often. But yeah, at that point, yeah, it was very hard to remember the layout of it and stuff.
Corridors, I can't really remember. I've actually been in behind the scenes of both of these mazes, and with Altonville,
much better behind the sscenes than the first one that I did. I think the second behind the scenes we did of them was in 2022, and the Altonville one was just as good, but the I think it was a bit shorter. But the attic one, we literally didn't have a guide, so it was literally me kind of guiding our part of the group round it and trying to remember all the Easter eggs that we were told about in the previous behind the scenes. It would be really nice to do the Tiny's Revenge behind the scenes though, because for some reason last year we weren't able to do it when we were meant to. So I'm hoping that they can do it this year, because that would be really cool to see the differences that they've added into Tiny's Revenge that wasn't in Altonville. Would be really fascinating.
There are so many things that you miss. When I've been with the lights on, there are so many things. And it's a shame that you can't see them when you're in the maze normally. So maybe they could change that, but I'm happy to see it back. I'm guessing the next time I'll go, there'll hopefully be some more construction on that. But it's confirmed to be back, and I'm so happy with that. And I feel like I've got more than I could have ever expected. So that's good.
I mean, to be fair, I think it was warranted to set expectations low, because yeah, like, you know, I think it was very difficult for the park at this time, not just financially, but also yeah, having to try and abide by the restrictions and stuff was also very difficult, because it's like, yeah, you know, especially in a scare maze, they weren't really able to put the social distancing in properly, to be honest, but I didn't really mind that. But yeah, trying to do that, I was just very, I would have thought that only having one maze would have been fine, but no, they actually went for it and actually managed to get a lot of stuff in, which was great, because I think other scare events had to cancel and everything, like more kind of like things like Burton Screamfest and stuff, I think had to cancel that year. So yeah, it was great that they actually got some mazes open.
Another thing it does say on the website is the Alton Towers dungeons, and it says, as Scarefest descends on the towers, enter the Alton Towers dungeons for a little less laughing and a lot more screaming.
You can tell where I'm going with this.
Will you be found guilty by the Bishop of Stafford, survive a visit to the Plague Doctor, and make it out to the Witch of Burson's cottage? Enter the Alton Towers dungeons this Halloween as we celebrate the most hideously horrible time of the year with your delightful peasant screams, if you dare. Now, it says there's going to
Oh god, look at his face. I believe he actually went to go and actually work for the London dungeon at one point, because I think I actually saw him on some promotion for that. But yeah, because I remember he was on like the very first previews for the Alton Towers. In fact, I think this photo is actually from the previews for the Alton Towers dungeon, where they had him as the steward of the towers. And yeah, he was brilliant.
be more, less laughing, more screaming. I went through last year and they had this exact same quote and there was nothing different.
Yep, and that stays consistent.
At all. The actual dungeons were the same. There was nothing different. It wasn't like Dungeon Late, which I've never done. But
I wish they could do dungeon lates at towers. Like, not necessarily have it as rude. I don't really think they need that for Alton. Because the only dungeon late I've done was at the York dungeon, and yeah, it was kind of less scary, more just like kind of rude adult humor. And I would rather it be more of a scary experience rather than an adult experience. And I think for Alton Towers, that'd be pretty cool. Maybe that's what they're planning on doing for Scarefest. Have it be more of like a scarier Alton Towers dungeon rather than just a normal dungeon, which would be really cool, I think.
But I can imagine that they're much more adult, much more scary. There was nothing different. And I've been through the dungeons quite a few times, so I know...
I've been through quite a few times because my Alton Towers Platinum Pass allowed me a free visit every time. So yeah, I've been there. I think there was one point where they literally said, one of the actors said, like, oh, you're paying my paycheck. But it's like, no, it's just... I managed to get a free one every time. I think sometimes I booked an extra one if I felt like it, but yeah, when I actually had money. But yeah, I managed to get a free one every time, so I went through quite often.
Pretty much, if there was anything different, nothing different at all. And I went through a few times, I think, last Scarefest. Nothing had changed on the inside. The outside, though, they had this thing called Plague Street, which is...
RIP Plague Street.
Basically, in the queue line, they had actors roaming around. So they had a guy actually in a plague...
God, just look at that plague doctor there, staring into my soul.
Doctor, kind of the plague doctor mask, you know, like the bird beak mask thing, which is pretty creepy. And some other actors just going around and yeah, scaring people in the queue, which is pretty cool. Which was fun. It was a nice bit more interaction. And yeah, just made it a bit more fun. So, but in the actual dungeons themselves, they didn't change anything. So it would be nice if they did do something new, a little bit more scarier in the actual dungeons, but considering social distance...
I've always thought have live actors in this bit if you could somehow do that. Because, I mean, there is a door there, so there is a door for staff to be able to access, so it would just be so cool if they could have live actors on the boat ride. But I guess there's the issue of, like, the actors possibly falling in the water, but there's also the issue of if guests get too scared in the boat, they might rock the boat too much, and then that'll... Because again, involuntary things can happen during scares, you know.
As well, that might still be a bit harder. So I'd understand. I just wish they wouldn't say that it's going to be scarier when it's not. Like, I get the outside bit being scarier, but actually, if you're going to do it, if you're going to say you're going to do it, do it. Like, make it a bit scarier in some way. I would say a way to make it scarier, maybe send people in single groups. I mean, it'll make it a bit longer, make it a bit harder to do.
Yeah, I would love them to actually allow you to do like single run-throughs the dungeons. The problem with that is that they would have to change the script for it because, like, for example, in the I don't know, the torture scene where you'd have to have one person in the cage, one person in the seats, and then one person in the audience to kind of watch everything that's going on. So yeah, doing it single, you'd have to like you'd have to change the script for that. But I think it'd be a really cool opportunity in a way.
You know, but if I went through the dungeons on my own, I would be scared. Seriously, I mean, last time I went on the boat ride, and I was on my own, and it was much scarier. Weirdly, even though I knew what was coming, I knew all the jump scares that were coming, it was still scarier. Weirdly, and it worked, and it was really cool. So I can imagine going through the whole dungeons like that. That would be cool. And that would make it scarier. So maybe, but I don't know. We'll just have to see. I'll probably go through at least maybe once. Probably not every time I go, but maybe once at least, just to see if they have changed anything.
Spoiler alert, they didn't.
But yeah, so that's all the kind of adult-y stuff. I'll just double check the kids.
Not adult in that way.
Stuff. Obviously, there's riding in the dark still. That's still a thing that's gonna be there. They also do make it clear on here as well that at the time of recording, Scaremaze tickets are not currently available. They will be released on our website soon. I think that would be when they maybe drop a trailer for Scarefest, maybe for...
Which I also did a reaction to. Which I can't remember whether they did actually drop the tickets at that point. I can't remember.
Freak Show Toxic Junkyard, if they do a trailer, they will probably release the tickets then. But for now, the waiting and seeing. Actually, just while I'm on this page as well, I'll just talk about how we're going to manage to do social distancing in the other mazes. Because I think... So
I can answer that question, they don't. They did it kind of. It was more like they used, like... They said at the time, like, it was like different acting techniques and stuff, but it's like, to be honest, they didn't really do it. I think they just said they were doing it and then didn't really. They kind of did, kind of didn't. They just took away touching, basically. And yeah, had them maybe not go as close to guests, but they were still definitely within 2 meters.
Toxic Junkyard, that's going to be outside. That'll be fine. I think they're going to mainly specifically build it to go around social distancing, so they can do that easily. Darkest Depths, I think they can change it to do that. It's based in the Mutiny Bay courtyard.
Well, that's the thing, they moved it, didn't they? So, and I think they made it bigger as well, to the point where they could actually allow disabled guests to go through as well, because I've known disabled guests being able to go through Darkest Depths, so it is like wheelchair accessible. So that probably helped for social distancing as well, like to make the corridors a little bit wider. So yeah, and that's probably again the reason why they moved it.
So yeah, they could easily try and do that social distancing. Maybe even do a few bits open air. I don't know. The attic, I think it is one of the more spacious mazes, so I think they could do that a little bit more socially distanced, and I think it could work. I think that one could work. The only one I'm thinking of is Alton.
It's so funny as well. I think it was during 2020, when I did a run through the attic, and I was going through like the finale hell section, and one of the actors actually bumped into me, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is the first bit of physical contact I've had in a year," because of like the pandemic and stuff, not being able to like hug or anything. So yeah, but that's the thing, like in that situation, like when they say don't touch actors, like if you accidentally touch an actor and it's like bumping into them, there's not going to be a problem with that. It's if you're like physically trying to harm them, that's when there's an issue, or when you're like, you're touching inappropriately and stuff like that. I've heard so many horror stories about that stuff. So yeah, guests, don't be dicks.
Altonville Mine Tours. I don't know how they're going to do that one socially distanced. It'll be very interesting to see.
Again, the answer is they didn't.
I think what they might do with all the mazes is limit the capacity by a lot. And
limit the capacity by sending you through on your own. That's how they did it. But then, as I say, you just catch up to the group in front. Like I remember, especially with Freak Show Toxic Junkyard, it was so easy to do that. Like you could just catch up to the people in front of you really easy.
I think it might actually be that they put in single groups at a time. Like I mentioned with the dungeons, what they could do. I think with the mazes they're going to do that, because the mazes,
and unfortunately that meant that like especially like with the pre-show for Altonville, you had the outdoor pre-show, but the indoor one with Sister, they had to kind of cut it, isn't she? It's more like Sister just like ushered you into the elevator rather than actually getting the pre-show with her, which is a bit of a shame, but I do get it, because like otherwise you would have been having to wait for that pre-show like single and doing it over and over again. Like yeah, that wouldn't have been as fun. So yeah, so I can see why they did that for COVID, to be fair.
The dungeons is a 45-minute attraction, and it makes sense to put groups in there of more than one family group.
Again though, with the scripting, like it's scripted for multiple, for a group rather than single people. Like me, I'm single, god damn it.
I think with scare mazes are usually about 5 to 10 minutes long each. I think if they put a single family group in at a time, it can work. And that means I would be going through the mazes on my own, because I'm normally a single rider, single visitor.
Single rider, single visitor, single man. God, it's depressing, isn't it?
So that would be exciting. I think the one maze I would be scared of is Altonville. It's the one maze I've always...
Spoiler alert, I was scared of Altonville. As I say, in that elevator section, it was so terrifying, just having no actors come out and having that anticipation of it. Yeah, that was terrifying.
I'll be scared of going through on my own. I went through some species on my own at times. The Welcoming I went through on my own. I went through... I think they're the only... Project 42. I was at the front of Project 42, but I never went through on my own. But to go through on my own, it would be a new experience, and I think it would help with the social distancing. Obviously, the actors aren't going to be able to touch you, I don't think. I think if they can keep the social distancing, though, that could work. Altonville's going to be harder because it's such an enclosed, claustrophobic maze. I think...
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm joking about the whole thing that they didn't keep social distancing, but again, like, unless if they completely reconstructed the maze or just, like, like had less actors in certain areas, then yeah, they wouldn't have been able to properly do social distancing. So yeah, I can't really blame them for that. I'm just glad that they had the mazes open, to be honest.
I think a good idea for that would be obviously they'll probably get guests to wear masks, but I think with the skin snatchers in there, if they all wear their skin masks, they could easily wear a black face mask under that, and you wouldn't see it.
Which they didn't do. Well, I mean, no, I think they had one skin snatcher wearing the skin mask. I think it was Boss at the end in the shop, but yeah, they didn't really do that much, which I feel like they really could have. Maybe it was because, again, like the discomfort of like having the face mask and then the main mask, but Yeah, you know, I think they could have done it personally, but they didn't.
It would just feel like it just looked like a black open mouth, and that would work.
That would have been cool as well. They actually has like a black open mouth because that makes it like even more like kind of uncanny in a way.
I think that would really work quite well. So, and then with the attic, it might detract a little bit more if they're all wearing face masks, but I would be happy for them to do it. And I think,
yeah, it detracted a little bit. Like you could notice it, but they were themed in well enough, so that would. I think they had like kind of like embroidered like with like patterns on it for the attic. Darkest Depths, it worked fine with like almost kind of like the bandana ones that they had. With Alton, also they had like the skin ones, which looks so cool. And then Freak Show, they had ones with like different teeth on and patterns on things, which worked. So it was good that they did themed ones at least, which helped.
I think they can still make it a really scary experience. I mean, with the Old Towers dungeons, they all wear masks and it works, and it's fine. It's a little bit harder to hear them, but it still works.
I liked it as well with the Alton Towers dungeons. Some of them were like the visors, and the visors had like little like splatters of blood on them, which were really cool.
So yeah, but I think they'll be able to do it. I really do. Hopefully we don't go back into lockdown though. You can go into lockdown after October, that's fine.
Speaking of which, we did, yeah, because everyone was like asking for that Firebreaker lockdown, and it happened like, I think it was like November 4th, I think, because yeah, literally I was at Alton Towers that day because I'd left my umbrella outside Freak Show Toxic Junkyard, and so I had to go and collect it, and literally the lockdown was going to happen the next day, so it was the last day I could go and collect it, and we got stuck in the Smiler queue, and so we were literally, I think the curfew was like 6 o'clock, and we were still in the Smiler queue after that curfew, and it was just so funny just talking with people in the queue line about that. But yeah, so it did technically happen after Scarefest, which yeah, I was grateful for. I mean, yes, it meant that cases went back up and stuff like that, but I got my Scarefest, so I was happy.
Just let me experience Scarefest, please. Thank you. So to the Halloween Spooktacular.
Just Halloween spook. That's it.
That's the section. Okay, that's what we're calling it. In this section, so yeah, there's the Gardens Light Walk, which I mentioned. The CBeebies Land Monster Ball, which
don't think I've ever watched that show. Maybe I should one year. Maybe I should actually watch that.
In your favourite costume and join the CBeebies characters live in big fun showtime as they dance, play games, and learn all about spooky things. Featuring Bing, Ubercorn.
Who the fuck is Ubercorn? I don't even want to know.
Really? Okay.
Oh, I take the piss out of it there as well. Great minds think alike. So.
Peter Rabbit and many more of your favourite CBeebies friends. Ubercorn, really? Is that seriously actually a character? Okay.
Okay, you don't need to keep going on about the joke that much.
So that's going to be a meet and greet thing probably. Again, they could probably do that socially distanced and that'll be fine. That'll be great. Then the Freaky Fun Zone. This is with kind of like the main Alton Towers characters that they have.
I've always thought like a way to like update this show was, because you know they obviously like, added Gretel in to update the show and have a new kind of storyline with that. I always thought they got a pet. Like, I don't know, they got like a little pet bat or something, and the whole show's about them looking after that pet. That would have been a really cool idea. I think it's just because that show's just become quite stale at this point. Like, don't get me wrong, it's an alright show, but it's like just, yeah, really stale.
Yeah, kids' characters. Ready to get spookalicious? Join our 5 super freaky Halloween characters in their mind-blowingly multicoloured playground on the front lawns. Enjoy spooktacular shows, meet and greets, and photo opportunities, and more. Join Patch's Halloween party, it's bigger and better than ever, and hear ghostly tales from Spooky Skelvin.
I believe they stopped the Skelvin one, haven't they, about the Spooky Tales? That's a shame. Because again, it just adds a bit more variety to the lineup.
Then help Gretel make her magic spells and discover everything Phil and Franklin learnt at school. So much fun, it's scary. So that's the main stage show that's not...
Just, they look cursed. They look really cursed. Yeah, because I think these are the newer costumes that they got. Are they? They might be, I don't know. Because I know they got some newer versions of the costumes where like the eyes looked a lot more cursed.
Yeah, as they say on the front lawns with the different characters. So it's good that they're still doing that for kids. That'd be great.
To be honest, I mean, this face is terrifying. Like, Jesus Christ. Go get help.
And then the final thing is the Alton Ancestors. These like the dance people. Some people have been saying that maybe they might be in the gardens too. They could
I think that would have been a brilliant idea. Like, have them do the shows during the day, then when the Gardens Light Walk happens, put them in the gardens. Brilliant idea.
do that
This is why I should run Scarefest.
very easily. I don't know whether they will, but it's an option that we could use them there for the Garden Lights Walk. But yeah, so just to read the description of that as well. Hear that scraping sound? It's the gravestones being moved. The Alton ancestors are back from the dead and in their favourite haunts. Standing still is not an option, so celebrate Halloween by learning their dance moves
I stand still all the time because I'm filming them usually.
and joining in. So yeah, again, it's just they do dance show things, and then
Oh yeah, I think that's Kieran there possibly, because I know he used to be a scare actor before he became head of events. So yeah, because I think there was some bits of him like Sanctuary and Carnival of Screams and stuff. So yeah, that's cool.
sometimes a few kind of meetings.
Again, I recognise so many of them nowadays. I think it's through Nathan as well, because he knows a lot of the actors. So yeah, I just recognise so many people now.
things, and yeah, it's a nice little thing. That we do
God,
around
that's back when it was Jewel as well. Bloody hell, now it's my favourite ride.
the park. Nice little bit of entertainment. So that is all the attractions so far listed on the website. However, there has been a rumour.
Stop doing silly voices, please.
That's right. There has been a rumour that there is going to be one more maze announced.
There wasn't.
I didn't know anything about this, but from other people's videos, they've all been saying there is another secret maze coming
Nope.
to be announced. Now, the only it's people saying in the Alton House press release or something that they've mentioned it, and that it's going to be revealed later on. And maybe that's when they might release the Scarefest tickets. Maybe there'll be a trailer or something for either Freak Show, Toxic Junkyard, or for this new maze, maybe. But the only thing I managed to find on this is on some people who've covered the press release on a website, and this is the only website where I've found it mentioned. There might be another website. Please link it in the comments.
I'm actually very interested in what this is because I can't actually remember what the website said.
I really want to see this. But where I've seen it mentioned, this is the website Manchester Evening News. Yeah. And yeah, Manchester. For some reason, I looked in the hyperlink to see that when there's actually a title on the top. Right. And the article is
See, nowadays I would probably cut off this advertisement bit just to make it look a bit cleaner.
called Alton Towers reveal plans for Scarefest 2020 plus massive new event, which is also relating to Oktoberfest, which really, does anyone really care about it?
Oh my god. I think this was because this was at the point where I'd never been to Oktoberfest, but my god, I have misjudged that event so much. It is genuinely... I would say Scarefest is probably my favourite because, you know, it's spooky season, it actually has attractions. Oktoberfest, though, is just fantastic. Just the entertainment and stuff is just brilliant. Yeah, I really misjudged Oktober. I'm so sorry, Oktoberfest. Please forgive me.
I'm sorry, but I mean, it looks interesting, but yeah, I mean, Rides in the Dark, that's...
I think the thing is as well is that I only really assumed it was like shows, and I thought the shows were just like normal okay shows and food, while with the mazes you actually get attractions with it. But the entertainment is so good, and I think it's just more the vibes of like the opening night and stuff of it and stuff. Like it's so good and so well done.
nice, but you can go later at Scarefest, like, it's a few new foods and stuff.
The bratwurst is so nice.
I'm not that interested in it. I'm not going to be going. I forgot that it was on and accidentally booked my next ticket for the weekend before.
Yeah, I think it was like this year I accidentally forgot it was on, and then the next year, I think in 2021, like I think I just wasn't available for any of it, or like I didn't have the money or something, and so yeah, it was like I kept accidentally avoiding it, but it's like I'm glad I finally did it in 2022. And then 2023, last year's was really good, to be fair, with like the whole group and everything.
And so, but I can't change that because I can't get a refund and change it. And I just thought,
oh shit, this is when I was thinking, because I had the pass at this point, so that's interesting. Unless if I just wasn't able to cancel my bookings at that point, maybe.
fuck it, I really can't be asked to change that, so I'm not going. But yeah, I'll tell you the dates when I'm going, by the way, just to let you know. If anyone's interested and want to see me and have a photo, no, nobody even knows that I exist. So
saying that, I know I have 100 subscribers, bitch.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, if you do see me and you do want a photo, I do not mind whatsoever, but I think that's very unlikely to happen, and very egotistical of me to think that's going to happen.
Yep, self-deprecating to the very end. And same things now. Yeah, if you do want to come and say hello, please do. I've had a few people actually over the past few years, which has been nice. What I would say is I probably usually look quite quite like reserved and look quite serious and not very approachable, just because that's just my demeanor in general, really, and probably just the social anxiety in general. But honestly, if you come up and talk to me and say like, hey, are you Dark Shadow, I'll probably very happily say hello. Like, I've done it a few times, it's been lovely. So yeah, go ahead, and you don't have to, because I understand, even though I've got 100 subscribers, that just means fuck all still.
Anyway, so this article, there is a bit which says about Freak Show, and then the next paragraph, it might hint towards this new maze. I'll just read it for you. So, the new Freak Show Toxic Junkyard promises to get pulses racing as it joins the lineup of live-action scare mazes for thrill seekers. An outdoor maze, it will invite guests to venture into the Freak Show hidden den to discover the secret of the Psycho Clown's next big show. Next paragraph says, and the new scare maze, which is set to be fully unveiled later this summer, is the latest addition to the theme park's lineup of scare mazes, which will be completed in time for the event.
I think that's to do with the new scare maze being Freak Show Toxic Junkyard, which got fully unveiled in the later summer, because they actually brought the trailer out in the summer. So yeah, I mean, obviously I know it wasn't for a new attraction because there wasn't another one, but yeah, I think that it's just very weirdly put, I think.
Now, it depends on how you read that, because it's a separate paragraph, it's not in the same paragraph. You could either read that as the new scare maze that will be fully unveiled later this summer as a new scare maze, or it's carrying on from the Freak Show paragraph saying, and the new scare maze.
I like how we're doing like English comprehension skills at this point, like Jesus Christ.
Because it doesn't say a new scare maze, it says the new scare maze, which suggests that it's relating to Freak Show, and the new scare maze, Freak Show Toxic Junkyard, which is set to be fully unveiled later this summer, because it hasn't been fully unveiled. We've seen logos, we've seen description, we haven't seen a trailer or anything. So
which we do get, and then well, actually, I didn't react to the trailer. I reacted to the lineup announcement, which then has a teaser at the end of it. The actual trailer, I just didn't react to because I just think I didn't get round to it. Like, that's the thing. I was, as I say, massive backlog and stuff at this point. Because this is technically the second year of my channel, really, or technically the first full year of my channel, because it was like later 2019 when I actually started doing videos, but then it was 2020, which is like the first full year. So yeah, I was really behind in the backlog a lot of the times. Or I don't even think I necessarily had a backlog. It's just it took me a while to get round to actually recording videos and then getting them edited.
It hasn't been fully unveiled yet, so it could still be talking about Freak Show, and it is the latest addition to the theme park's lineup of scare mazes. It is. So I don't know about whether this is.
It wasn't.
People have been misinterpreting it, and they think it's a new scare maze, or if it is going to be a new secret scare maze.
Nope.
But there have been, I think there were rumours before it was announced that there was going to be a new scare maze, so that another one added. So that's why I'm kind of inclined more to think that there will be another one, and I'm just greedy, and I want another scare maze. Now,
Oh, aren't we all?
I've had a few theories on this. I have a few theories, which have kind of been disproven because people said that in the press release it said a new scare maze. So, because what my theory was
Boiler House.
that
I know it's Boiler House.
the one place they could use is the Project 42 area, the Nemesis Subterra area, that build.
I mean, could have used some other bit. Well, let's think of it. I mean, I've always said X sites, the arcade Oblivion, that should always be used as a scare maze, because like if they use Carnival of Screams and like the Games Bunker, why not use X site? That'd be cool. Or like the Edge arcade, which obviously now at the moment is the arcade. So I mean, I think that would be a great scare maze area as well. Just really arcades, they just make great scare maze areas.
Building. And there must be okay, this is me getting into my conspiracy head thinking. So they haven't announced this maze yet. That means there must be something special about it, right? And the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of something special about a maze is, what if it's a maze that they're bringing back?
which we all want, apart from the tower's management.
So, Alton Towers have normally said, I remember I went to the...
I mean, to be fair, it's not just towers management, it's any park. I mean, Thorpe's got the closest by bringing back trailers, but even then that's not returning, that's just bringing back the kind of themes of mazes and putting them into a mashup, essentially. But it's not... No attract... Like, I think that's the biggest thing, you know, if you want to, like, set yourself apart, like... If Towers actually brought back a maze, they'd probably be the first attraction to ever properly do that. Like, I think that would make it a great marketing thing in itself, because it would be like, no one's ever done this before, so no one's ever fully brought back a maze. So I feel like that'd be a good marketing push. But I mean, the reason's always that, you know, they think, people who did the maze before will never think it's good as the original, the general public won't get it and stuff like that. I think there's enough of a demand for it, though. Like, if there's enough people asking you constantly every year to do it, there's a demand for it. So yeah, but then again, you could also say that people don't know what they want, which is also very true. So yeah, I know what I want, though. Bring back the Sanctuary.
Towers Times event, Scare Mazing, it was last year, 2019, and someone asked, are they ever going to bring the Sanctuary back? And
as they do every year.
They said no, which could have been a lie. Because
it is not a lie, they really don't want to bring it back.
I know people, you know, people like me who haven't experienced some of them old scare mazes would love to see them back. And so it would be quite a big thing if...
Like, the Sanctuary isn't even the biggest one. I just want any maze to come back, even if it's like, you know, Boiler House, Carnival of Screams, Subspecies, you know, just anything. Just bring back something. It just, I don't know, it just gives like a bit of an excitement, like, ooh, this coming back. But especially if it was one that I'd never done before, that's the main reason as well.
Alton Towers was to bring a maze back and bring some mazes back over the years. And so I thought maybe this is what they could be doing. Possibly. Now that is debunked by the fact that they do say a new maze, which is true. But I want to dream, alright? I want to dream. So
don't quote Martin Luther King, you bastard.
If we're going to do this in the Project 42 area, I was thinking about what maze it could be. Well, Carnival of Screams it wouldn't be, because they're already doing Freak Show, and they're using parts of that anyway, and it's another clown maze. Sanctuary, it's in the towers, and that area is being used for both the Attic and Altonville, I believe. Or at least Altonville, I know the exit's around there for that. Welcoming, Darkest Depths has already taken over that area. Haunting of Molly Crow, Altonville's taken over that area. There is Field of 1,000 Screams, that was another one. They could do that, but that wouldn't be in the Project 42 building, that would be in a field, so that could be an option. I'm trying to think about it. I don't think there's any others that I'm missing. So the only other option that's available...
I just kind of zoned out as well, so I also don't know if there's any others that I'm missing.
is the Boiler House, which I think would be a brilliant...
Oh god, the pixelation is scarier than the maze itself.
If they were going to bring it back,
Oh
it would be
God.
one that...
And there's the Hamble twins, which, fun fact, I can't remember whether I mentioned this at one point, but yeah, one of my college tutors actually, when I was on my graphic design course, actually played Elsie Hamble, which is pretty cool. I'd love to get the Victor Hamble mask, though, from Rubber Gorilla, though. It's just unfortunate. I would have to ask, because, like I said, they kind of make each mask from scratch every time. I would have to ask, like, could they actually paint it up and make the hair look like Victor Hamble? Like, I'd pay them extra for that, to be honest. Like, yeah, to make it look like that mask. Because, yeah, it's a cool one. It's just a shame I'd never be able to do Victor Hamble properly as a costume, like for one of my Scare Season costumes, because they don't allow masks on Park, and it would just be me holding the mask. And then, obviously, I'd have, like, the problem that I had at Thorpe Park last year. So it's like, yeah, that's always a shame, really.
Wasn't amazingly remembered, I don't think, because obviously the Sanctuary, that was related to the Smiler, that's remembered. I think Carnival Screens mainly remembered, but Boiler House isn't one that I really hear many people mention, and it looked like it was an amazing, it was a really, pardon the pun, but an amazing maze. It looked really good, and it's one that isn't one of the...
I think it's also just the fact that it's the one which has the least footage and like the least that you can see from the inside, so it makes it more intriguing about what it was like. Really, the only things you see are Victor and Elsie Hamble. That's pretty much it.
Big ones, and so it's kind of a smaller one that they could bring back. Would suit the Project 42 building, the Nemesis Subterra building. You know, that kind of industrial feel.
I would love as well if they ever brought back the Boiler House, is if they brought back these wanted posters that they had around the park. That'd be so cool. That'd be such a cool way to market it.
They could redress it to look like a Boiler House or something. And I think it would just be a really cool maze to bring back, and it would be the reason why they're keeping it a secret. Because it's this big thing of them Because they're going to bring, if they can bring back one maze, they could bring back any maze over the years. Think about that. If they had a load of new mazes, and every year or so they brought back a previous one, I'd love to see the Sanctuary back. I'd love to see Carnival Screams back.
I know a lot of people who don't want to see the Sanctuary back, but there's also a lot of people who do as well, so there we go.
All these mazes, I would love to see them bring back, so new people can experience them. So that's my conspiracy theory anyway. It could just be a new maze. And that,
or it could just be no maze.
even if this is going to be a thing, I don't know. But there have been a lot of people theorising about it. If they're going to do it, I think it will be in the Subterra building. That makes sense. It's really the only place I can think of them doing a maze.
I think it was also just the fact that the construction for Project 42 was still left up, which was just a weird decision. I think it's just because they just left it for a while, to be honest.
But yeah, we'll just have to see. We will just have to see. Overall, I'm really excited for this. This has got me really, really excited for the event because I didn't think they were going to be able to do this much stuff. So,
to be honest, I just didn't think that they were going to do the event at all. Like, that's why the title says "So Scarefest 2020 is happening," because I was like, oh, you know, didn't even think it was.
Fingers crossed, it's going to be good. It's going to be a really good event. Now, in regards to when I'm going, so my next visit to Alton Towers is going to be September 5th. So I'll do some more recording of the Scarefest preparations, my vlog of the day normally, and yeah, what mazes they're preparing for. Go and see if I can film anything. They have near the attic, from other vlogs that I've seen, they've removed the bench, which means you can get a little bit closer to the curtain now, so that's good.
Oh yeah, there was a bench. Like when you were coming out of Hex, they put a bench in the way to stop you from getting near like the entrance to the attic. And it's like, dude, you can walk around the bench. Like, come on.
But yeah, it'll just be really good to see what they're preparing for. Then, in regards to when I'm going to Scarefest, I have booked my tickets now, so it is confirmed that I'm going. It's just whether I can get the maze tickets. Hopefully I can, fingers crossed. I will be going on October 10th, so that'll be opening weekend. It'll be the Saturday. So Friday's opening day, and the Saturday I'll be going on the 10th for a day, so that's just for the day on my own. And then I am actually doing a stay at Alton Towers. I'm going to be staying in the Smiler Room.
God, I forked out a lot of money for that. I think it was like 400 quid for the one night. Like, Jesus Christ. Probably because it was around Scarefest as well.
Thought I'd treat myself months ago. Turns out my bank account doesn't really agree, but oh well.
Yep, that's how it works.
So I'm going to be going on the 24th and the 25th of October for the weekend. So yeah, so I'll be going once at the start, once at the end. I can see how things have changed. Get to do the mazes a lot. I'll probably do them day and night.
And yeah, Scare Mazing wasn't on this year as well. The Towers Times event wasn't because of the pandemic and stuff. So yeah, that's why I did those two visits.
See, just to be able to get through them as much as I can. And yeah, if you do want to look out for me, I won't necessarily look like this. I will actually be going in a certain costume, possibly a little hint right there.
Ooh, how subtle. Yeah, but yeah, that was the first time I was properly like doing costumes and stuff, which was great. And now look where we are now.
That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to try and keep it a bit of a surprise. But yeah, it should look pretty good, hopefully. Because people, I think, normally think, because I normally wear a long black coat wherever I go, and people just think that's a costume. It's not. That's just what I normally...
God, when I went to Towers midweek, like, I wasn't even in the long black coat, like, when I went this week just gone, and I still had someone asking if I worked there, and it's like, no! I think it's because of, like, all the pin badges, like the pop badges and stuff, and it's just, I don't work there.
Wear. But yeah, I will be doing, like, a proper costume thing. Might even do a tutorial on me doing it.
That's funny because I filmed a tutorial in 2020, but then the footage corrupted, which means that it didn't get done. And then I think it was in 2021 that I did another tutorial for it, like a proper one where it's like I did like a time lapse thing. I might possibly do that for my costume this year. If I'm staying over in a hotel at Tully's, I might try and do that, possibly, and film a tutorial for that costume, because yeah, it's going to be a really cool one with a really cool makeup as well. So I could do a really nice tutorial for that, especially since it'll be using grease paint instead.
I don't know. Do you want to see a tutorial of me putting on my costume? I don't know. Maybe like a little makeup tutorial. Yeah, we'll have to see. Yeah, that's pretty much all to do with Scarefest. I will probably update if there's anything new. Maybe I should even do like a reaction to if they do a trailer or something. That'd be good. Yeah, might do that. So yeah, that's all really. Thanks for anyone, by the way, who watched my vlog. So far, it's got, at the time of recording, it's got 9 views, I think, which is great.
Oh, and then looking at my videos now that are getting like hundreds and like 100 in the first 24 hours. Jesus Christ, times have changed. Oh god. And like, oh, and the weirdest thing is like the video that has the most bloody views is the Smiler Room one, which has got like 1,000 views. Like, it's just crazy.
It's better than the fucking Minecraft ones I've done. My second Minecraft video didn't even get any views, so
I think it has a view now. I'm not sure. To be honest, I wouldn't go back and view those ones. I am just as like with the things that I was reading at the start of this video. Like, yeah, same attitude. It wasn't great.
yeah, that's fun. But yeah, I hope maybe this Alton Towers content, you know, it might be a good direction to go.
Well, it's the thing that got me 100 subscribers. So yeah, that's accurate.
Because it's easier content for me to record as well, which is good.
Also, content that my audience is actually interested in.
So yeah, thanks for watching, and goodbye. Bye.
God, this before I had an outro as well, wasn't it? Jesus. Right, I'm at like 2 hours 45 minutes. God damn it! No one's gonna watch this video. It's fine. Right, so I was actually planning on like watching the lineup reaction and the first vlog I did. They're quite well. I mean, the lineup reaction isn't too long, but the vlog is like half an hour, so I don't really want to react to that. But there is one more thing that I do want to react to that I'm just gonna get up now, which is. It's still the Scarefest thing. It was from my vlog on the 24th of October, which was essentially, I took a while to get round to it, and so this little thing was created at the start of it. I mean, I think it actually says in the description actually that it was exactly 3 months late, so yeah, that's not great. This was the intro at the start of it, which I really liked, so I thought I might just end on this and then we can react to this little funny thing and hopefully get this video below 3 hours, so that would be nice. Yeah, previously.
Next time I'll be here is 24th and 25th for a big 2-dayer.
Yeah, so this is at the end of the 10th of October vlog. God, the footage is so... Ugh.
It'll be awesome. So yeah, I will see you at some point. I don't know what the next video I'll be doing is, but definitely see you then.
One eternity later.
Definitely won't. I love this. It's probably going to get copyrighted, but I don't care.
Suddenly, life has new
I just love the edit. It's so good.
There's beauty
I just love the song as well.
and things we never take notice of. You wake up, suddenly you're in love.
Beautiful. Beautiful masterpiece to end on. I don't even know how I came up with the idea of that. I must have just watched the clip online and just thought, hey, this will work. But yeah, it was, I didn't actually manage to edit that. I got someone else to do it. But yeah, it was too difficult for me to work out how to actually get it to like stay in place and stuff. But yeah, that's a funny thing to end on. But yeah, anyway, it's this video is way too long and it's going to take an age to edit. But yeah, I guess just the main thing I just want to say is thank you for 100 subscribers. Thank you for, if you are still watching this video, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Go outside and touch some grass. But yeah, it's great to have 100 subscribers now. It doesn't really make much of a difference if I'm honest. Like, the content is mostly going to stay the same, but yeah, it's just really cool little milestone, I guess. And I guess onwards to 1,000, which probably isn't going to happen, but you never know. But yeah, it's also just been really nice recently. Just I mean, it's less about like the 100 subscribers, more kind of like the nice comments I've been getting and stuff like that from people, and yeah, just a lot of the support, a lot of the people I met in the community and stuff like that's just been lovely and really nice. And yeah, like, you know, like with some of the recent stuff, like, I mean, the Blackpool Pleasure Beach video was the one that got me over 100, and yeah, just like meeting up with the Joneses on that day, meeting up with Joe before that, Towers, you know, Mike and Stace, Love to Explore, you know, David and Nathan, with the amount of times I've met them at parks and stuff. Yeah, it's just been really nice to have this little kind of group of people now that I have who kind of come onto the channel sometimes, and I sometimes go onto their channels, like with Love to Explore, with Thematically Speaking, and Scareseekers, of course, which hopefully we should be recording an episode tomorrow, so look out for that. But yeah, it's yeah, it's been really lovely. So thank you, everyone. Hopefully you keep watching my content. As I don't really mind, to be honest. It's a load of nonsense, isn't it? But yeah, the next video on the channel will... It depends when I can get this edited. It'll either be... I'll be visiting towers on June 1st with a lovely group of people, hopefully. I don't know whether it might be happening, might be not, depending on some things in the background. Or it might be the Power Wash Simulator video, which I keep saying that I'm going to do. That'll definitely be like the next gaming video one, on like my normal kind of rota thing. So either Power Wash Simulator or Alton Towers. So until then, I will see you next time. Bye.